Hey, golf you. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We're glad that you're all here. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Before we get to adoption of the agenda, just want to remind people if they would like to speak on this issue, there are comment cards at the tables near the exits. Just fill one of those out and give it to the clerk over here, and she'll get you. We did not have any voicemail comments today, so we're going to alternate between folks calling on the phone and people here to keep the flow going. And with that, is there a motion to adopt our agenda?
So moved.
Okay. Motion and a second. Was that Commissioner Ward? Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're done.
So in light of everything that is before us and the circumstances as we know them going forward for the next several months, we are all, I think, aware that regardless of who is elected come November 8th, almost everyone has made a commitment to work on repealing the repeal. There's going to be a lot of resources spent by the city of Gainesville and by the community, and a lot of heartache created by moving forward. My hope is that rather than adopting this agenda, we simply don't adopt the agenda and instead, or replace what's on the agenda with a continuation of today's business to the second meeting in January. That is my hope for today. I appreciate everything that everybody's worked on. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. But these are the things that are going to happen. Even if I'm not elected, we know that the vote is still there. We know that almost everybody running has committed to repealing the repeal. The amount of staff effort and resources that we're going to put into this, if we pass it today, to then turn around and walk it back the other direction is enormous. And I would rather see us not do that. So that's my thought on this. I think we could save a lot of heartache and certainly a lot of resources by going that path.
Thank you. Commissioner Chestnut.
I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Ward. We are in really, I think, serious financial straits. We keep finding money to do things. We don't have the funds to invest the funds today in what this is going to cost us going forward. And everyone but one person running for this to be seated in January has said that they would vote to reverse this. I think we owe it to the taxpayers to give them a fair hearing, in January. I think pushing this through, as we're pushing through a lot of issues, it's not fair to the taxpayers. It's not fair at all. It's not fair to this commission that we are moving with all deliberate speed, as the court would say, to implement this. So I think that Commissioner Ward has a very wise, very well thought out proposal, and I would agree with that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duncan-Walker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to ditto the sentiments of Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Chestnut. Also, the fiscal resources, absolutely. The voices of the people who have lived in this community for generations that we certainly need to be more mindful of listening to. I heard someone once say that grand sweeping decisions like this need to be made with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. And I think that this is somewhat of a sledgehammer approach. What I'm hoping is that Commissioner Ward may, at the appropriate time, put that motion on the floor so that we can second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe we should move forward. I ran for office to make our city a more affordable place and for future generations and to fight climate change. This ordinance does all of that, helps make our city more affordable so that people who don't own homes right now.
Okay, nope. We are not gonna, we're gonna be civil. We are going to treat one another with respect. You can differ in opinion, but we are going to give everybody a fair chance to say what they think without any interruption or intimidation. Thank you.
And it's also, by also making our city more affordable, it also fights climate change. Infill development is the #1 thing that our cities can do to reduce our carbon footprint, and that's what this helps do. If a future commission wants to make a decision and make our city more unaffordable and to help increase the amount of carbon, or make our carbon footprint worse, they can make that decision at the future. But I hope that we move forward on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to vote on the motion. It is important. This has gone through a very exhaustive democratic process, and this is the end of that process. Y'all, please. And you all know that because many of you have been participating in that process all along. And so if a future commission decides to change course, that is their prerogative. That happens on issues after every election. But this is something that is incredibly important and needs to be voted on one way or the other. And that's the prerogative of each of the 7 of us and what we are elected to do. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion. Okay, that motion passes 4-3 with Chestnut, Ward, and Duncan Walker in dissent. And so the way we will conduct our meeting today, y'all, is that we will hear a brief presentation from staff. Not a lot has changed since the last time this was presented, but there are a few sort of text changes to the third of the 3 items, and so we want to make those clear to everybody. And really it's about the effective date and a couple other things. And then we will move right to public comment, and we will hear from everybody on these matters. And once public comment is done, then we'll move back to the commission for our deliberations and eventual action. Again, we didn't have anybody leave voicemails, and so we'll go ahead and sort of alternate, if you weren't here at the beginning, between the people on the phone and the people in the chamber to keep the flow going. I really implore you to be respectful of one another's time. And so when the yellow light comes on, that means you have 1 minute left in your comments. When the red light comes on, your time has concluded. And I'll invite the next person to come up and speak. So with that, Madam Manager, do we have staff for their brief presentation?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Persons is here on behalf of staff to make the presentation connecting from first reading to this public hearing this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Persons.
Thank you. Andrew Person, Special Advisor to the City Manager. Just a couple of housekeeping issues to note. For D1 on the agenda, which is Ordinance 211357, we, as staff, have drafted letters in response to the agency letters. Those, both the staff letters and the agency letters, are in your backup. We would ask that the commission, if there was a motion for approval for that, authorize the mayor to execute those letters and to transmit those back to the state agencies. For D2, which is Ordinance 211358, there are 2 ordinances in your backup marked as final. There's one which includes the sunset provision that was discussed at the last meeting, and then there's a second which does not include the sunset provision. Both of those have some clarifying language regarding the effective date. of those ordinances to clarify which provisions are dependent on the land use portion. And that's it. And then the D3 is the same, and there's no changes to that. So staff's here to answer any questions, and we're ready to be here. So.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll just circle back when it gets time for commission deliberation to remind ourselves of those sort of discrete decision points that we have not made clear in our first readings. And with that, Madam Clerk, I'll turn it over to you.
First speaker is Vishnu Malhotra, followed by Joshua Nay.
There are people downstairs.
Can I get the overhead? Oh, look at that, it's already there.
My name is Joshua Nay. I've lived in Gainesville for 20 years, and I'm co-founder of Gainesville is for People. We advocate for research-based policies to increase the supply of housing, both market rate housing and government subsidized housing. We believe to have a green and equitable city that we need to have housing that meets folks' need throughout their life. I'm interested in what the other side in the housing debate thinks about. I'd like to tell a story of a photograph that they use on their social media and their website. Here's the photo. A beautiful tree canopy, a narrow street that acts as a street calming measure that makes the street more bikeable and walkable, even with the absence of sidewalks. The road is wet from a recent storm, and the foliage is green and lush. Having biked through these particular streets for years, I knew where this area is, but I wanted to pinpoint it. I had a suspicion that this photo doesn't tell the whole story. I went on Google Street View and started looking around. Here's the Google Street View look from the same direction. Not as artistic, but has a similar charm. Mature oaks and leaf litter dominate the photo. I traveled down the street view a little bit to the stop sign. Still Gainesville, has a beautiful bunch of trees. Here's a house that is in the photo of the social media site of the organization that is threatening to sue the city for this change. I was surprised that they would use a photo of a triplex on their social media. Seems like if you're an organization against an incremental change, that you wouldn't use a photo of the fine-grained urbanism that this plan is working towards as an example photo. Not only that, I kept street viewing around this area. Side of the triplex, not the most attractive parking area, but the trees are still there. Next to the triplex, there's a small apartment complex, and look at that beautiful oak in the middle of the parking area. Now, this plan doesn't legalize this level of density. I counted 20 mailboxes, but is another example of fine-grained urbanism that we've made illegal. We're not talking about legalizing the standards everywhere. Currently, in most single-family neighborhoods, you can build 3 stories. This plan only legalizes 2 stories and quadplexes. Okay, there's across the street is a small single-family home. I get that we fear change, but multiple housing types can coexist. They have forever. The triplex was built in 1941.
Thank you, Mr. Nam, for
It's
your time.
time to make housing legal again.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think we have Adam with us today. Is that correct on the phones?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, indeed, it is a pleasure to be back with you.
Well, good to hear you, Adam.
Thank you. You want them?
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, our first caller this afternoon, Debbie Martinez. Ms. Martinez, the floor is yours, 3 minutes.
Yes, can you hear me, Adam?
We sure can.
Okay, thank you. I am Debbie Martinez. It is clear the vast majority of your constituents want you to vote down these anti-neighborhood ordinances, and so do I. There is not one single city in the entire state of Florida that has eliminated single-family zoning. For the past 5 years, the term-limited men serving on this commission have put our community through a living hell in their push to eliminate single-family zoning. When young people begin their working careers, regardless of their color, oftentimes purchase homes in single-family neighborhoods because they want a safe and quiet place to live for them and their families. Now their whole lives are being turned upside down along with their neighbors. I am speaking about the large number of young people who are living in single-family neighborhoods who have their whole lives ahead of them. However, there is a small group of young UF students who have been in close contact with the term-limited men on the commission who sing their praises to eliminate single-family zoning. This small group of UF students do not speak for the large number of young people living in single-family neighborhoods. It is possible the four term-limited men on this commission are good people, but I do not want them to cause any more damage to people. And regardless of how they vote tonight, I do not believe that they should ever serve in public office again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Jane Berman Holtum, followed by Monica Frazier.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners. I hope it hadn't come to this, but it has. I have two items. It's very hard to carry 2 3-minute items. Do I have another chance, or is this the whole thing?
This is it.
Okay. So, probably the most important is a quick introduction, is that we have something called Run with the Land Deeds, which are, I have looked at them and studied them, and I find 4 of the city commissioners sitting before us have run of the land deeds that most of us would kill to have. That means your land cannot be developed in any way more than one single family property, etc., etc., etc. So you are totally protected from all of this. And I will be disclosing who in a moment and giving a copy of the deeds restrictions to the clerk. It's very frustrating. The majority of us are not protected. Those in developments developed since about 1958 are protected. That's mostly all the developments outside of downtown city center and the old historic district. We're the only ones that will be affected. The rest of you will be able to save yourselves by paying maybe a land attorney, maybe, $10,000 or so to protect yourselves. We have no way to get that deed that you have. And I have copies of it. And I will tell you who has it now. We have Commissioner Ward. We have Commissioner Hayes Santos, Commissioner Sacco, and Commissioner Mayor Poe. You are all protected by running the land deeds, and I have documents here, plus the deed restrictions to prove it. And I ask each one of you individually to recuse yourselves for the record. So I want to know if you will recuse yourselves from this vote, because you are protected, the rest of us are not. So I see that you have a special private gain, a personal or pecuniary financial interest in the outcome of this matter of public interest. And I will claim that. So, in Briarwood, I don't want to cover this too long. I would like to have I would like to ask each of you, yes or no, for the record, if you will recuse yourself. So I've got Commissioner Ward, will you recuse yourself?
We'll speak when you're done.
Okay. So all of you speak afterwards, okay? So I've got documents here, and you may look at your own deed restrictions, which are 10 years automatically renewing and or 99 years. So that's pretty important. So what it is the run of the land deed restrictions are basically the fabric of the American way of doing business, because it protects your land owner rights. It doesn't matter who buys it, what the city zoning does, you still have to enforce and protect your own deed restrictions. You can zone anything, but these are protected from any zoning changes you make. So is that my 3 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes. The other thing I'd asked is that a city come up with a map to show all of the people who are not affected.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for
So that's my request.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Glenna Auksher, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, this is Glenna Auksher. I've lived in Gainesville for over 50 years. This is just such a waste of time to vote to pass these ordinances, 211, 357, 58, and 59. money and time is going to be spent, and government resources, as well as this goes through the court system and this gets rescinded. This is the only reason that I can possibly think that this would be even come up is to satisfy those campaign contributors that you four are beholden to. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Speaker is Monica Frazier, followed by Kim Tanzer.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
First, I would just like to say it's really ridiculous that this is a 3 o'clock meeting on a Monday. Most people have to work. They can't just get off when they want to come and have their voices heard. You could have done better about scheduling this at a more convenient time. 5, 6 o'clock would have been much better. Also, I am opposed. You know, elected officials, we elect you to do the business of the people. You're supposed to hear from the people and then act on that. We've been here before. You listened to almost 5 hours worth of comment. I mean, 90% of it was against this. You had hundreds of emails, phone calls. You heard that the people don't want this. And yet here we are again, even after several folks in Tallahassee have said, this isn't a good idea, you need to slow this down. There are things that have been looked at that you need to take into consideration, but you're determined to go forward anyways. That is not good public officials. You're supposed to be public servants. You're supposed to hear us and act accordingly, not just your agenda. It's been said that almost all of the people who are running for your open seats are against this. That is their campaign slogan. They're getting votes because we don't want this. And hopefully they will listen even though you're not. You're turning the city over to investors. While some of the proposals can be implemented in certain places very nicely, a broad sweeping vote for the whole city makes no sense. That's not planning. That's just do whatever you want, whoever will, build what you want, and you're turning over all your power. It should have to come before you piece by piece where it makes sense. We're not against everything. We're against this broad sweep of the one vote. You know, I live in historic Spring Hill, and you've said many things about racial injustice or whatever. My family's been there for 6 generations. However, the circumstances they came to be there, we are there. We take pride in our neighborhood. This type of broad sweeping change will affect us, and not in a positive way. And you act like you don't care, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Adam?
All righty, Mr. Mayor. Tana Silva. Tana, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Warren Poe has moralized about this sweeping deregulation for years. In 2017, he said Gainesville has an overabundance of affordable housing, but in the wrong place. The high opportunity neighborhoods he preaches about are being dismantled, apartments demolished, and the residents displaced by the city, housing authority, and U.S. The mayor and proponents go out of bounds to promote this agenda with phony figures and to demean those who object to citywide deregulation. Like recently, the mayor saying they're acting out of primal or native fear of change. Other commissioners use similar lines and say they need to educate the public. How insulting. No, they need to educate themselves about the real world conditions people are facing and the corporatization that is extracting wealth and hope for globalized private gain. Tragically, the Sun has devolved from watchdog to lapdog, and more media follow suit in repeating the false narratives. It's not about affordability, equitable development, environmental protection, democratic process, or the city's interests. This departing regime of men led by the mayor has dominated the commission and disrespected their black women colleagues for years. They need to account for the mess they're leaving behind after 6 years in an echo chamber of overspending, debt, infrastructure deficits, dysfunction, attrition, and top-down policy making. The commission needs to stop greasing the wheels for more wealth transfer through more market rate rentals and stop giving away city assets and leverage for U.S. benefit and private profit. A prominent question needs to be, who is subsidizing whom? This is a coup in progress by piecemeal changes to the comprehensive plan and random upzoning, not the required and expected thorough review with collective participation. Thursday's meeting has so-called transect spot zoning second reading, swapping parking minimums for parking maximums, and U.S. downtown plan. Inclusionary zoning is coming to the plan board to check that box soon too. Bit by bit, this is a scattershot attack on comprehensive planning and disregard for the consequences. You should scrap it and help set up the next commission to do what you haven't. Open City Hall to the people and seek diverse experience in setting a better course for Gainesville's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam
Thank
Clerk?
you, Ms. Hill.
Tanzer, followed by Vishnu Malhotra.
Mayor Poe and Commissioners, I ask you to vote no on ordinances 211, 357, 358, and 359. As you, Mayor Poe, concede in your rebuttal letters to state agencies, you do not anticipate that eliminating single-family zoning will add any additional dwelling units to the city's housing stock in the foreseeable future, beyond those already allowed. As you explained, there are only 194 vacant lots in the entire city, and they average a quarter acre in size. You explain that they could be developed right now to provide the same number of units on average as this comprehensive plan change would allow. If those assertions are correct, why then are you in such a fever to make these changes? In each rebuttal letter, you also explain that, quote, the amendment is anticipated to lower vehicle miles traveled by encouraging greater density within the urbanized area of the city of Gainesville through directing new housing development near existing transit routes and job centers, as opposed to those outside the urban core, end quote. You attach a map showing the percentage of land devoted to single-family zoning by city quadrant. You argue that the majority of the land affected by these ordinances in the Northwest, which you say is whiter and wealthier, and perhaps where several of you live. You imply that this is where new single-family housing would occur. But this land is well outside the urban core and not convenient to job setters or accessed by public transit. And as this map shows, with the same quadrants delineated, most of the vacant northwest lots are in floodplains, therefore they're unbuildable. In any case, northwest Gainesville is not where the majority of the 194 vacant parcels are. They are in East Gainesville, Spring Hill, Sugar Hill, Duval, close to job centers, transit, and the urban core. In fact, your obvious intention is to direct multifamily development to East Gainesville, which will displace longtime residents, mostly black, with new renters, likely young and likely white. These short-term residents likely will not contribute to their neighborhoods or value the cultural heritage of their neighbors. This is the pattern already playing out, as reported by our neighbors, in Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street, and Porter's Quarters. Ordinance 23159, eliminating bedroom limits and occupancy limits, will make the situation far worse in these neighborhoods and others near UF and Santa Fe. In the 5-year trial period, Commissioner Sacco suggests historically black Gainesville will be largely impacted, while the neighborhoods several of you live in will indeed remain unchanged. We see what you're doing. We see you. You've called those of us who oppose your plans racist and claimed that you and your colleagues are progressive. Maybe it's time for you to look in the mirror.
Thank you. Thank you. Adam, we encourage everyone to share their opinions and minds, but no cheers or jeers, so everybody feels welcome to speak their mind without threat of intimidation. Thank you very much. Adam?
All righty, sir. Nancy Wilcox, you have 3 minutes.
Hi. I'd like to thank Commissioners Chestnut and Ward for listening to the citizens. You have been getting overwhelming input that nobody wants this. You know this, and this is why this meeting was scheduled today at 3 o'clock, because you wanted to limit public comment. You didn't want to hear from the public because you know what you're doing is wrong, and you're ramming this through against the will of the public. And as Commissioners Ward and Chestnut have pointed out, you're going to be wasting our money because we're going to be fighting this. And to you four that are ramming this through, you are the reason people are leaving the Democratic Party today. You're ramming through an ideology. You're not listening to the people, and we have had it. We're disgusted, and people like you are the reason people are leaving the Democratic Party today. So I know you know what you're doing is wrong, but I just needed to say this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Nancy Wilcox.
If we can just keep the cheers and jeers down, I don't want to have to take any other measures. I think we can all sit here and be civil and respectful to one another. It's the sort of just baseline that we expect, if that's all right. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Vishnu Malhotra, followed by Jean Chalmers. Vishnu Malhotra, followed by Jean Chalmers.
Thank you, City Commissioners, for holding this public comment session. My name is Vishnu Malhotra. I'm a Gainesville resident and proud member of Gainesville is for People. We are gathered here today at a pivotal moment for our city. Like many other American cities, Gainesville is facing an increasingly worsening housing crisis. As prices climb, students and long-term residents are forced to sacrifice walkability, location, and quality of housing in exchange for a less exorbitant price. Why? Why do we see housing prices in our city continue to rise? Why are apartment complexes all across the city filling up leases for fall 2023 now? The answer lies no further than our limitation on the construction of multifamily homes, of duplexes, quadplexes, and more. We cannot escape our housing crisis through the construction of single-family homes alone, and we know this. Council members, I urge you today to affirm the repeal of Gainesville's restrictive and discriminatory single-family zoning laws for the sake of all people in this city who need a home to live in. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, publishes a yearly comprehensive report on the housing market of several cities. Gainesville is one of those cities. In 2021, HUD concluded, quote, during the next 3 years, demand is expected for 2,475 new homes. The 840 homes currently under construction are expected to meet part of the demand. For rental units, added supply is 1,625, demand is 1,775. This is basic economics. Our housing crisis was not caused by greedy developers. It was not caused by the development of the standard, and it will definitely not be caused by this repeal. It is caused by a supply and demand mismatch. The city of Gainesville, like most other American cities, has restricted the type of housing that can be built to single-family homes in vast portions of the city, making it significantly more expensive to build new housing units and making it impossible to meet demand. This repeal is not a panacea for our problems. We should still reform the outdated parking minimums, minimum lot sizes, and arbitrary development review process. But this decision will benefit the vast majority of people in Gainesville. One, it will tamp down housing prices across the market simply because there will be more units available. Again, basic economics. Two, it will reduce displacement and gentrification. If you keep things the way they are, housing and rental prices will continue to rise, pushing people out of their homes and communities. Three, it will serve both students and residents. Even if students are the ones who primarily live in the new units, existing residents will benefit because there will be less sprawl into their communities, less invasion into traditional single-family neighborhoods, and people in Gainesville will have a place to live at a reasonable price. Affirm this repeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's nobody on the line at this time.
Okay, very good.
Forgot your water bottle.
Sir, water, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Jean Chalmers, followed by Sharon Bauer.
First of all, thank you for being there. It's a tough job, I know, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Chalmers.
As most of you know, I've been a realtor for 33 years, so I've really watched the development and the change in this community. And I can assure you that the demand for single-family homes is very, very high. We have probably enough multifamily homes now to fill the need. They just don't fill the need for the poor. So I ask you to put your thoughts towards low-income housing for poor, and that's not going to happen in single-family neighborhoods. I get calls from realtors down south a couple of times a week looking for land, infill land, where they can develop student housing. I've seen what's happened in Fifth Avenue, and what you're doing now will only make that worse. These old neighborhoods are really, really suffering. And it's not our local developers. They're all down south for some reason. You know, I'm an old civil rights worker. You guys know that. And those who throw out that this is a racist thing is absolutely nonsense. What I'm trying to do is protect those neighborhoods where the family money rests in their property. And as you pull down the value of those single-family homes in African-American neighborhoods, you're destroying a culture and you're destroying the nest egg for those families. So be very, very careful. What I'm seeing in Porter's now is really worrying me very much. That'll all be student ghetto. And the university is remiss, in my opinion, for not providing more students for more houses for their students. You know, I'm an old city commissioner. I sat up there for 6 years in the 1980s. We never made a profound decision at this point in the election period. I can remember 5 or 6 major decisions where we all said, well, we've got new folks coming on, so we'd better table it. So I don't know if the new people coming on will support my position, but I really beg you to table it because I think the citizens will respect you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chalmers. Madam Clerk?
Bauer, followed by Chuck Ross.
I can't believe we've been fighting this for 4 years now. You know where I stand. I'm president of a neighborhood association in Old Northeast, 7 blocks east of here. I just want to address 2 things. I am, by the way, a retired municipal planner for several Pinellas County municipalities. Commissioner Hayes Santos, you did not run on this. I worked for you. I contributed to your campaign. We were victims of a bait and switch.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Chuck Ross, followed by Casey Fitzgerald.
Good afternoon, Chuck Ross. First of all, I want to thank Commissioners Duncan Walker, Harvey Ward, and Chestnut for trying to defer this thing. The letters that you received from the DEO, the DOT, and Alachua County should have been posted to the website so all of your constituents can see that they voted for you or recommended that you not do this. In fact, the state said that you must withdraw the amendment. I read the mayor's rebuttal letters to the state and the county. The letters claim the state DEO has no authority here. Again, it's not up to the state, but the city to define the issue about affordable housing. The mayor claimed that the state had no authority to regulate what they were going to do. Further, there's a Florida statute that defines affordable housing. It's 166.04151. It talks about inclusionary zoning. It doesn't talk about exclusionary zoning. by thumbing your nose at the state, you're asking for litigation from the state, which is going to cost the community money. The letters also claim that there was no data analysis to support their recommendation that you must withdraw this. It's up to the city to supply the data analysis, not the state. The majority of the commission have focused on Northwest Gainesville. However, this affects the entire city, especially economically disadvantaged neighborhoods and their infrastructure. I've heard a number of residents speak at public meetings about potholes, street lighting, and that is not working or covered by foliage, and instead of concentrating more of its time and money on improving these neighborhoods, the majority of the commission has wasted the city's time and money on this experiment that will result in litigation from the state and the community and still not accomplish its stated goal of more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Casey Fitzgerald, and I believe we have callers on the line now.
Okay, great. We'll go back after this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Casey Fitzgerald. I'm a 28-year resident of Gainesville and currently serve as president of Gainesville Neighborhood Voices, a nonprofit organization formed in response to both this existential threat to Gainesville's neighborhoods, especially those most prone to gentrification, and equally importantly, to work to create meaningful, strategic, affordable housing in Gainesville in the future. Rather than reiterate numerous adverse unintended consequences that would accrue from these ordinances, I will attempt to appeal to your hearts and minds differently by sharing with you what the future prospects truly are. First and foremost, the best outcome today by far is the one that's been suggested, that one of you that originally voted in favor has a change of heart and votes to end this most divisive matter and honor the overwhelming will of your constituents. Alternatively, if there is no change of heart and the slim majority votes again in favor, Gainesville Neighborhood Voices will be obligated to file administrative appeals. It also appears that the state of Florida, in the form of the Department of Economic Opportunity, will do so as well. Now, the silver lining of this alternative for concerned citizens is that these legal challenges will keep the ordinances in abeyance until a new set of commissioners is seated in January, and at that time, a majority of commissioners, many of whom are out there today pledging, will begin the reversal process. Now, unfortunately, an even worse scenario is that if the reversal process and legal appeals are still pending into the legislative session beginning in March, the legislature will likely pass preemptive legislation which not only affect Gainesville, but could even apply statewide. I'm sure we all agree that control of zoning issues should remain local and that preemptive state mandates are the last thing we need in Gainesville and the rest of Florida's communities. In closing, I'd just like to say, I want to believe you are very well intended, and I think there is a lot of merit conceptually to what you want to do. However, that's why you ran for office, right? And dedicate your time and talents to serving the public. I just think the consequences of this are way too dire and way too widespread. It's also apparent, given the scenarios above, that these ordinances will eventually be reversed or preempted. As such, we sincerely hope that at least one of you formally in support recognizes this inevitability, experiences the requisite change of heart, and votes accordingly. Doing so would bring an immediate end to the community dissonance, start the healing process, save the city both staff and financial resources, and provide an opportunity to meaningfully address affordable housing sooner rather than later. I implore you to deeply consider our heartfelt request. I thank you for giving this your genuine, open-minded consideration, and I hope that we can pursue the greater good for Gainesville together. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, we'll go back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nathan Scott, the floor is yours. 3 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Nathan Scott. So I want to stand in support of all the Gainesville citizens that have overwhelmingly opposed this change. This is another instance of where Gainesville's neighborhoods are under attack by a city commission that refuses to listen to its constituents. Very disturbing. This has been a pattern. The pattern went from the standard, the monstrosity known as a standard, who built across the city property line in the right-of-way, and went on to the St. Michael's Suburban Heights fiasco, that Commissioner Harvey Ward, who's running for mayor, had no problem wanting to build up to 8 stories, 6 stories, but when he runs for office, he gets amnesia and tries to fool people. Now you guys have moved on to changing the zoning in the entire city under the auspice of affordable housing. The letter should have been posted as indicated by the prior speaker. Moreover, I'm very disappointed with the arrogant tone of the draft letter that was sent in response, or will be sent in response, to the Department of Economic Opportunity. The tone of that letter, Mayor Poe, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's disgusting. It reflects poorly on the city. It reflects poorly on the commission. It's just unbridled arrogance. And the issue here is, I want to state this for everyone that's listening. You guys claim there's been an affordable housing crisis. One political faction has ruled the city commission for over 2 decades. Why didn't you solve the problem before it became a crisis? Because you're too busy virtue signaling about everything else that has nothing to do with all the homicides, violent crime, shootings in Gainesville, utility rates that people can't afford that you keep increasing along with our property taxes. But I want to ask this question. How much affordable housing could have been built with $30 million in ARP money that this commission chose to squander? A lot. But you guys don't manage money appropriately. You have a spending addiction with taxpayer money, and you refuse to listen to the constituents of Gainesville. That is, by definition, the epitome of poor governance. I would ask you respectfully to deny this so we don't get into a lengthy appeal process, because it will be overturned one way or another. You need to stop the virtue signaling and start focusing on the real critical priorities of Gainesville rather than continue to destroy Gainesville's neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Bayless, followed by Don Fields.
I want to congratulate you guys on how well you're doing with my neighborhood.
Mr. Malis, if you'll talk into the mic so people at home can hear you.
I said I want to congratulate how well my neighborhood is looking now. Look at that. They've cut down every single tree. They've taken out all the grass. They have put a parking lot from the Reef Apartments across the street from my house. There's lights now going in my bedroom windows and my front porch every single time a car comes in and out, which is quite often because it's all students. And they're parking, you can see that car right there. This is Sunday's, this is pictures from Sunday. That's right there, parking in the street, parking everywhere. And because you guys did such a great changes, we have now 50 apartments behind my house, and they come and they don't have anywhere to park. So they park in front of them all along our street. We only have room for maybe 2 cars barely to get by each other. No sidewalks and cars everywhere. This is your zoning. It's really a great job there. And then I would show my backyard. This is from the apartments behind me, where they smashed my wall down and came in and stole my bicycles and stuff like that. And that's really working out great for me. That's all of your changes you've done so well with. Here's the police report saying this is not, it's really working out great for me. And then every single house, there used to be all affordable housing on my street. Every single one was about $400 a room or less. Now they're all $800 a room or more. You tell me, is that really working out good for the affordable housing for local people? Not one local person actually lives in the neighborhood on those houses. I mean, there's one across the street, another one across the street, the one beside me have all been bought out by investors. None of them are for local people. This is your idea of affordable housing. This is your idea of green. You're saying we're going to do better with our green. They cut every single tree on my street. They're just wiping them out because they make more room for their parking for the Reef Apartments. That's a great job. And then this is a masterpiece right here, I think you guys should be proud of, because you guys are so into being not racist that you go into a place that was HUD land for the poor, for the black community, and you turn it into rich student apartments. And you are so respectful. Look at how nicely you put the houses and the buildings within 5 feet of each other. These guys are going to have cars all night long going in and out, looking into their houses. You guys are doing a great job. Proud of your work. I think you guys should be. This is the Fifth Avenue neighborhood. You guys are so good at defending the black community in our area because you're so against racism.
Thank you, Mr. Malis.
You
Appreciate
are the epitome of racism.
Thank you, Mr. Malis. Adam, back to you.
And
thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have
got-
next Don Carlo Rodriguez.
You have done a masterpiece. Proud of yourself.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Malis.
Mr. Rodriguez, you have the floor. 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, Gainesville City Commission and Gainesville residents. My name is Giancarlo Rodriguez, and I'm a student at the University of Florida. Right now, Gainesville students are pitted against other Gainesville residents for housing, with other Gainesville residents receiving the worst outcomes. Eliminating exclusionary zoning is an important step to reaching a solution to this problem, and I completely support the Commission's decision to do so. This initiative will help in lowering housing prices by making supply meet demand and make Gainesville a more affordable city for everyone. This initiative recognizes that single-family homes do not work for everyone, and only building single-family homes is unsustainable. It recognizes that people live different lives, have different wants and needs, and we should be accommodating for everyone. For young people, we value walkability, sustainability, and being actually able to afford to live somewhere. And I'm sure many people older than us value this as well. This ordinance will not get rid of single-family homes completely, but give other options for those whose single-family homes does not work for. This ordinance will also alleviate gentrification on the east side by allowing more duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes on the west side. Commissioners Sacco, Areola, Hayes Santos, and Mayor Poe, thank you for being brave for us. It is a common trend in political history that what is seen as the most controversial policies now usually are important steps to helping the most people and lead to a better future. This initiative won't solve everything, but will go a long way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Fields, followed by David Hastings.
Thank you, Don Fields. I've been in Gainesville some number of years now, almost 10. In 2 years, it'll be 1 now almost. Anyway, I'm here in solidarity with the people who oppose these changes. You just have not made the case for why your equity housing is going to succeed. We hear a 5-year timeline before anything will be seen. And then we heard Mr. Areola, Commissioner Areola, tell us that in Minnesota, they have had success with their single-family zoning repeal. So I went and took a look at that one, and it turned out that's not the case. They passed it in 2018, implemented it in 2019, and they also have a 5-year thing, expectation. I don't know where this comes from. There seem to be new urbanists out there that across the nation are making this move to do away with single-family dwellings with the rationale that it's going to make more affordable and equitable housing. No case has been made for that as far as I can tell, and Minnesota is one of the few cities that have implemented it. And it turns out of 9,000 buildings, you can read this yourself, and I can send you the link if you'd like to read it. There are 90,000 buildings, only 92 or 62 were built that were affordable housing. The other thing is, so the case isn't made yet that this is a valuable thing to do. And so I just don't see going forward unless you, with this, until you have have the people who are pushing for this, have them have them tell you how this is going to work. At the very least, you should be doing that. But in the meantime, I'm in solidarity until I see that. I would then back what you're doing if they had a good logical case. But until I see that, I can't support what you're trying to do. And I especially think it's hubris, as was used before, to pass this mess on to the people that will be replacing you. And I'm not convinced that the people who are replacing you are going to all fall off to the other side yet. And it'll be up to the suits to stop you. And I hope they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Liz Akers, you have the floor. 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all wide awake and listening. I just have really a short and sweet comment. First of all, I'm just wondering if you can guarantee, and I know this isn't a Q&A right now, but if you can guarantee affordable housing, if these projects coming up will actually be required to have a cap on how much they can charge for rent, and that would somehow be guaranteed. I don't know if you could answer that at some point, but honestly, the common sense thing to me is like, you just put this to a vote, like for the public. I'm not sure why we just can't have this become a ballot initiative and have the public vote on it. So appreciate your time and take care.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is David Hastings, followed by Maria Jones.
Hi there. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, for hearing us on this really important issue. I moved here recently to Gainesville, and really I'm beginning to love this community. I love that I live in a smart town, and I love that I'm living around smart people. And I really appreciate the opportunity to provide the City Commission with my views on these proposed zoning changes, in particular the Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Land Use Change 2022-177, 178, and 179. It's pretty clear by now that not only this city, but many cities in the United States have to make changes to improve and increase affordable housing options. This is clear, and I think in many of the communities we're in, it's not in dispute. And again, I want to applaud again the city for making efforts to find solutions to this tenacious problem. But eliminating single-family zoning will result in more luxury student housing with lavish features, including rooftop pools, tanning salons, state-of-the-art gyms, and I looked at the internet today, PGA golf simulators. This zoning change is a developer's dream as more luxury private student housing is built around the university, which will clearly impact historically black majority communities. It will increase that, it very well might increase the housing stock and increase the number of units, but the free market will not and does not provide affordable housing, as clearly shown by the evidence here in Gainesville. Profit drives development, not the social good. The new housing is built primarily for students. We know we're in a university town. That's why we're here. It's not for working people, and rents can continue to rise. And this is because many students' finances don't rely on their income, but rely on wealthy parents or student loans, and they can afford these high rents. I don't believe the city has done enough analysis to provide evidence that these changes, that these proposed changes, will result in more affordable housing in Gainesville. In addition, the city has not directly engaged in a planning process with neighborhoods and residents that will be most impacted. Tackling challenges such as affordable housing takes courageous action, that's clear. But this should not come at the expense of collaborating with the most impacted residents to find workable solutions. I think we've discovered at this point that the preemptive state mandates on zoning will likely go in place, which would be the worst possible outcome. These ordinances will either be revoked or preempted in the near future. I appreciate the intent of the City Commission in making an effort to consider affordable housing for all of us. But these proposed changes will not achieve the desired income. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Barbara Lindsay. Ms. Lindsay, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Hi. I just wanted to say that I've been doing a little Google searching, and at the last meeting, you said that there was no other city in the whole country that was just like Gainesville, and that this was going to be an experimental thing to see what happened. And so I did research cities that had a large percentage of rental population. And it turns out Gainesville fell at number 15. I couldn't find any cities that were close to Gainesville that decided to eliminate single-family zoning. The other thing I want to talk about is the multi-family housing, where you say that 10% of the housing that gets built in an apartment, for instance, has to be low-cost housing. I just want to say this seems like a low number. When you go to a city like New York City, they require 25%. And one of the things that I read in the paper just this weekend is that developers can buy out of that 10% requirement for a mere $167,000 per unit, so they can raise the rents up on the entire property. This kind of a loophole here makes the interest in affordable housing seem a little bit disingenuous. I also think that the university is sort of pitting the citizens against one another because they really have failed to provide enough housing on campus for their students. There's not enough dormitories. They really don't contribute enough to the community. I understand Gainesville has a lot of money problems, but I don't think this is the way to solve it. And this is not going to help anybody in the city of Gainesville. You talk about gentrification, but actually there are more neighborhoods in most cities that are falling into poverty than there are neighborhoods that are being gentrified. And when you take good neighborhoods and rip them apart like this, it's going to only make them move faster into poverty neighborhoods, and it will not help the problem. And so I do urge you to either vote no on this or at least postpone the vote until after the first of the year when the new commission has an opportunity to have a say in it, because they are going to be the ones that are going to have to deal with this, and they're going to be stuck with the consequences of what you think you're doing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Maria Jones, followed by Monica Cooper.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Jones, and I've been here several times. Okay, so under the guise of the extreme necessity for affordable housing, today you will be voting on to eliminate single-family zoning in Gainesville. At the same time, you claim that this change in zoning will result in a very slow change in our current single-family neighborhoods. Similar comment is included in the letter to the Florida DOT regarding the number of additional vehicular trips that this change will generate. So it seems it will be a slow process to satisfy the urgent need for affordable housing. So why the zoning why change the zoning if it's not going to generate the affordable housing that you claim we need so desperately right now? Commissioner Sacco proposed experimenting with the zoning change for 3 or 5 years in order to obtain data that will either confirm or debunk the theory that more housing, more affordability. I estimate that there are at minimum 30,000 apartments that have a Gainesville address. And most of these 30,000 or more apartments are managed by large property management corporations. More than likely, these are not local corporations. And to this number, all the new construction that is taking place in Gainesville, including county plus all the housing that's coming down the pipeline, there is an abundance of housing, though not necessarily affordable. I'm sure you have heard the term rent control or rent stabilization. Rent control has a bad rep if it is established with no time limit. But why not have rent control on a percentage of the existing units for a period of maybe 3 or 5 years, like Commissioner Sacco proposes to do for doing away with single-family zoning? While more apartments are built and the developers are allowed to do whatever they want, as long as they promise the city 10% of affordable units in perpetuity. This would be a temporary solution. It will not be popular with property management companies, but it will alleviate the problem until better solutions are found. Remember that building a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex does not guarantee these units will be affordable, but rent control will. And as Commissioner Psycho, she said this verbatim the other day, I know our boards may not necessarily agree with what we do, but our boards are not elected. They are picked to advise us. It can listen to the advice. Okay, well, my time is over.
Thank you.
In other words, you're not doing what the electorate is telling you to do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Mark Goldstein, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mark Goldstein. As you all know, or probably know, I'm a research scientist, but I'm very careful about experimenting on people. Their lives count on doing things right. If we do an experiment, it's in a laboratory. We get all the data, we carefully study it, we look at it, we listen to everybody, our colleagues. Now, the fact is, you've heard from your colleagues, the people of Gainesville. You heard so clearly that we have excess capacity. We have people who want to turn our homes into rental operations for their own benefit. You've heard how the landlords have a great deal of interest in this outcome. And if you don't know it, look at your data. It's very clear. What's happening is you've somehow gotten swept away with a fantasy or a theory. But the data that's been provided to you by residents, some with higher degrees, some with just deep knowledge, some who have done an enormous amount of research, it's kind of like you're sweeping it away. I've never seen anything like this in a public body, especially in this one, which I participated in as mayor commissioner. Last 40, 50 years, we built the town with neighborhoods that continue to expand, continue to rent directly to people. Owners do it. But you're converting this entire operation to an industrial level rental operation for landlords. That's not a good idea. You need to pull it off the agenda, recognize you spent a lot of time fiddling around with it. You really don't have the data. Your staff doesn't either. There's more been done in the neighborhoods in gathering data for you than you got from your entire staff. And we do it on our own time. So canvas thing. Talking to this commission has become like talking to the wall. I don't do that very often, but I took the opportunity today to bring it together for you. Now you need to stop. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Monica Cooper, followed by Bruce Morgan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mayor. My comments are directed at the 4 commissioners who are supporting these new ordinances. It's tempting to stand up here and try to sweet talk you or out of making a decision that's far-reaching and destructive, because you forget that your job is to represent us, not act as though you are CEOs of a corporation. But the fact is that you should be solidly condemned for forcing us to come down here once again in the middle of our workday to defend our town. How quickly you forget that we are still reeling from another decision made 12 years ago, for which commissioners had expert advice and examples of why building the biomass incinerator was way too risky and ill-conceived from the start. One of these commissioners sits before us today, regretfully, as mayor. You have made your concerns for affordable housing well known if you want to be sure that your legacy includes that real concern. You've done that. As you know, there are many ways to address this without sacrificing single-family neighborhoods to high-density and expensive new construction. Your plan encourages tear-downs and a complete change in character of our existing neighborhoods with no proof of achieving your goals of affordable housing. So, since begging and sweet-talking probably won't change your minds, how about the real
realization that you will be wasting our tax dollars on legal defense for a vote that could at best be considered incredibly naive and at worst completely ignorant. Please vote no on these ordinances. The vast majority of citizens have voiced their opposition to these ordinances. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Telford Cartwright. Mr. Cartwright, 3 minutes.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, all those who are in attendance watching this and wherever they may be. Yes, I've heard this term affordable housing, workforce housing, public housing, but, you know, considering the recent, and not just the recent, but a history of violence occurring in quote-unquote affordable housing apartment complexes here in Gainesville, Florida. No one is using the term criminal housing. Take, for example, there's affordable housing apartments off of Northeast 8th Avenue called Gardenia Apartments. A couple of weeks ago, a man was shot and killed sitting in a car, shot in the head. Why criminal housing isn't being used? We know that the term affordable housing, what you all, for those commissioners who are in favor of this idea that you all are trying to sell us, we're not buying it. And by the way, there's a difference between purchasing something and buying something. The community has spoken. Enough of all of this affordable housing, because it's only going to increase social ills, high taxes, and by the way, this is an attack, an obvious attack on the American dream. And for many of us, it will be an American reality. Mr. Poe, were you ever raised up in affordable housing or / criminal housing? And for those commissioners who are in favor of this, I ask you, have you ever lived on or in or quote unquote affordable housing? I don't think so. And why aren't you living in affordable housing now? Why aren't you raising your children in affordable housing / criminal housing? Oh no. This is a democracy, correct? Whether what's good for the goose is good for the gander? Won't you all lead by example? Won't you raise your family on or in affordable housing? And let's see how many of those commissioners would be in favor of this nonsense. And take it off the agenda. That's my comment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Bruce Morgan, followed by Christine Koopman.
Commissioners, my name is Bruce Morgan. For more than a century, our community has been a leafy green enclave, where black could sit with white, where farmers and philosophers could get together over a beer, and we had the wisdom, both our leaders and our ordinary citizens, to try to protect that. We tried harder than any other community in the state of Florida to protect our environment and our way of life. And we've done such a good job that now everyone wants to come here. Not just refugees from climate change, people who made the mistake of buying a condo on the beach. I assure you that's not our fault. There are people everywhere, millions of people, wanting to come here. We cannot accommodate them without the loss of our way of life. If you think that this is an issue of compassion, I urge you to go ahead and invite a family into your home and pay for everything they do. That's fine. They can live in your home, but they cannot live in mine without my invitation. Now, under your watch, we have seen our city go from a veritable Eden into a place where the streets are clogged with traffic and you can't drive, you can barely walk. We have seen our beautiful, beautiful streets reduced to urban canyons, featureless concrete boxes filled with people who do not know each other's names. That has all happened under your watch. Now, what's going to happen, as has been discussed many times tonight, is that your actions will be overturned, but at great cost to this city. There's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, because as soon as you pass this resolution, the developers will immediately begin. And we will try to stop them, and there will be lawsuits, and the result will be a bankrupt city. Now, there is a golden lining there, and that is that the first thing on the chopping block after this city goes bankrupt will be your Stalinist policies. That's the first thing that's going to happen. I'm here tonight to beg you, one of you, please, and especially you, Adrian, I've known you since you were a boy. Do not turn your back on the community that nurtured you at its breast. Please say no to this. Someone, one of you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, back to you.
Mr. Mayor, there's nobody on the line at this time. Back to you, sir.
Very good. Madam Clerk.
Christine Koopman, followed by Deborah Martinbeck.
First of all, one thing I'd like to say is we all planned to be here. I had some water, I had my lunch, I took my bathroom breaks. Do any of you realize how incredibly rude and disrespectful it is for you all to be standing up and walking in and out and in and out and in and out? Do you have business that's more important than sitting here and putting your eyes on us who are standing here? At this moment, 2 commissioners have gotten up and walked out of the room. Why? I'm not even speaking to the full commission. Do you realize how distracting it is when you stand up and walk in and out? It is so rude. Anyhow, we have listened to incredible facts, but you don't care. So there must be something else. We've talked about finances. Commissioner Chestnut opened up the meeting eloquently saying this is going to cost us so much money that we don't have. But you don't care about that. So we've talked about the historic neighborhoods. I guess you don't care about that. We've talked about the social justice. You're really good on that. I guess you don't really care about that. There's 2 things left: ego and follow the money. Follow the money. You know, we see this in our entire country right now. When something doesn't seem right, we're confused. We're going like, what's going on? Oh, wait, follow the money. I don't know, is it in your pockets? Where is it? Do you realize that your legacy in the city of Gainesville is going to have an asterisk right next to it? The worst mayor who chose to bankrupt. The worst commissioners who chose to look at the people who are begging you and elected you and saying, don't do this. All it takes is one of you who's listening, except for the 2 who apparently have to have more bathroom breaks. I don't know how many times they've been up already. It takes one of you to take away that asterisk from your legacy. Only one of you. Do you realize that for years people are going to be talking about this and talking about what you did in the face of people, the smartest, most eloquent people I can imagine living in this city with these people who have brought to you these incredible facts and figures and emotions. And all I get is you looking at us, the ones who choose to stay, except the ones who get up and walk out. Mayor, ask your commission to sit down and listen to the people who are here. How rude to get up and keep walking out. Anyhow, follow the money.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Followed by Catherine Jones.
Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you for those that are wanting to postpone the agenda. We talk about affordability, and in Alachua County, there's been nearly 6,300 units built between 2000 and 2019, but we lost 2,600 with $1,000 or less rent. You have an opportunity to create additional affordable housing by using the current stock. Allow the 4 and 5 bedroom houses to be used as they were intended to use, instead of limiting them to 3 unrelated people. This allows seniors, this allows working people, this allows young professionals to come together for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Catherine Jones, followed by Dijon Kane.
Okay, I'm ready. Hello, my name is Catherine Jones. Thank you for hearing me today. So I personally struggled with affordable housing and haven't always had a roof over my head. When I learned Gainesville was planning a project with a focus towards affordable housing, I felt positive and personally connected to this need. Sadly, as per your HRA document, I still can't afford your affordable housing plan. On page 18, it discusses the limitations of IZ, specifically stating it will not serve deep levels of affordability. And well, that's me. So when I was finally able to have a home, a real home with shingles overhead and a flushing toilet, I felt like I won the lottery. I have a yard now. I love where I live. I've overcome so very much to be a proud homeowner. Then without so much as a letter, you came to my home on my land, uninvited and without permission, and you took it. And you changed my land's value and purpose to something other than what I purchased it and or use it for. I refuse to live sandwiched between a couple of two-story triplexes with no parking plans, blocking out the sun and taking years of construction and potentially enduring bankrupt developers or failed business deals. What you're asking of me is unreasonable. You're creating a hardship for me in lieu of you I would not have to endure. I could literally be your poster child for affordable housing, and you're taking my home. This is math, not magic. If you increase the density of your people, you're going to need to increase goods, services, utility, transportation, the list goes on. But you have accepted the water departments and districts as a no comment status in place of, in place of impact statements. FDOT advised we need to make some changes, and rather than addressing the issue, getting an honest, educational, and transparent impact statement, you just asked someone else who assured you it wouldn't be that bad. Well, that bad isn't an impact statement. There's something missing from your no comment impact statements and your HRA how to entice a developer brochure. It's us. It's all of us. Thousands of affected homeowners, individual buyers, first-time buyers, and people like myself who truly need affordable housing. Where are we represented in your plan? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
John Kane, and I believe we have a caller.
Okay.
Well, Commission, I first want to say thank you to Commissioner Chestnut, Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker, Commissioner Harvey Ward. You guys have a place with God. You have a place in heaven that's special. And you say, why do I say that? Because you listen to the people. Some of you commissioners, y'all don't have a heart. Some of you don't understand your journey after you leave office. Some of you ain't gonna rest tonight because of the decisions that you made that's gonna affect families. They're gonna be misplaced. They're gonna be hurt. The east side of Gainesville, a lot of that property is gonna be shifted from those folks. They don't deserve that. And then we have the nerve to use racism in this. That is the wrong thing. As the chair of the Alachua County Affordable Housing, 10 years, and I'm still the chair, we said this was not right. The county commission said this wasn't right. They listened to the people. Why aren't you? And I'm going to be honest. Can I just keep it real? Because a lot of you have sold your soul to the devil. And one commissioner shaking their head. And that's a bad place to be. And tonight, I'm going to pray for you. We should never get to the point where we don't listen to the constituents. We should never get to the point where we don't fight for what they're asking for. And all these people took time when you know you should have made the meeting 5:30 or 6 o'clock. and maybe even another location. You didn't do that. You made it in the heart of the day where these hard-earned working folks had to come out. And some of you just don't care. Well, you know what? I can't wait till November 8th. I can't wait. I can't wait to work for the people. I can't wait to reverse this thing. I can't wait to have compassion. I can't wait to listen to them. I can't wait to do what's right. We're wasting their time with what we know is wrong, and one of you don't have the nerve or the compassion to make it right. Instead of shaking your head, say, you know what, I'll take a risk. I'll stand up for the people of Gainesville. I'll do what's right. I'll take a knock. I know your pockets may be empty when you leave here, but take that risk. And everything that you do in your life, there's a risk, Mr. Mayor. This is a risk for you. Are you going to be known as a good mayor or a mayor that don't care? Choose your path and choose it wisely. I like you on a professional level, but on this level, I don't have respect for you. Because you don't listen to the people, and you're a good guy, a good heart, but something got you tainted. But there's something out there that can untame you, whether it be when you're here and when you're not. Gotta be careful how you treat the people that have elected you. You gotta be careful what you say to them and how you address them. But commissioners, have a blessed day, and may God be with us.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We now have several callers, so we'll go back to alternating, I hope. The first of them is Darlene Pafala. Darlene, you've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Darlene, you out there? Darlene, shut the TV in the background.
I hear you. Thank you, commissioners. I just want to say all those people that were there, and especially the last speaker, was powerful. I can't even agree. I can agree 1,000% on exactly what word he said, commissioners. I agree with everything he said. One of the things that I would suggest, commissioners, that you do, it's a shame, again, that you have it so early where people are working. Fortunately, I work from my home as a realtor here in Gainesville since 1985. And what you're doing is, I'm going to use the word ridiculous. I've never heard any city or anywhere that has done this. If they have, was it successful? May I just make one suggestion and then I will go? With this ordinance that you're trying to pass, I would suggest, commissioners, that wherever you live in the city of Gainesville, whatever subdivision you live in, place this ordinance in the subdivision that you live in only, and not the whole city. And do that for a year or two where you live, commissioners, and see how it works. And if it works successfully, then maybe it's good for the whole city. But if it isn't, at least we don't have to worry about everybody in the city that lives in what you're trying to do. It's outrageous. I just don't even see common sense in it, commissioners. And I have been a realtor here, as I said. Actually, I've been a realtor next year. Will be 50 years in the real estate profession. And that's a long time, and this is absolutely ridiculous for every homeowner that is going to come to the city of Gainesville, and that probably will be, a lot of people will be leaving the city of Gainesville, and that's less taxes that you have on property. I pray that you do not pass what you're trying to do. Thank you, commissioners. God bless.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Gordon, followed by Cindy Gordon.
So much to say. Your defense, the Gang of Four, of this proposal is really worse than the Gators on Saturday. It's a terrible defense. But as an activist friend of mine once said during a demonstration, where the police were beating up the demonstrators on campus, he said, "Well, we're getting a real education today." And so I want to thank you. I'm not going to cajole. I'm not going to try and persuade. I'm talking to the public now because you're not even listening. But I want to thank you for creating a teaching moment for the rest of us in the city who are paying attention. A teaching moment about the use of raw power. The four of you have the power to do this, so you're going to do it. It's the arrogance of power. It's the abuse of power. And it's a lesson for everyone because you are supposedly progressive Democrats. And supposedly progressive Democrats don't resort to raw power. They resort to the will of the people. Clearly, that's not the case here. So what can we learn? You're not progressive Democrats. You are the champions of raw power. Some of you are probably doing this for your legacy. Not a good reason to even be in government, really. But if that's the case, your legacy is going to be tainted by this. And we all know it, and the citizens know it. District 4, 100% of the people voted for candidates against this. District 2, 100% of the people who voted for candidates who are against this. The mayor's race, 85% of the people who voted for candidates who were against this. Areola was the exception. District 3, over 50% of the people voted for candidates against this. Only one of the candidates who was against it didn't win because 3 were running, so it's a runoff. And we're hoping that Dijon wins in District 3. That's clear evidence. You might have argued 6 or 8 or 10 months ago you were working for the people. But the evidence is now in. You're not working for the people. The overwhelming majority of people in this community voted against these plans, against these proposals. We know it. I'm talking to the people. It's a teaching moment. Everyone in Gainesville, please learn from this.
Thank you. Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Jacqueline Resnick. Jacqueline, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Jacqueline Resnick, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Michael Resnick. We are longtime residents of Gainesville. We've owned our home in Kirkwood since 1971, a neighborhood chosen for its quiet, natural beauty. We strongly oppose the city's proposal to do away with single-family zoning. This action will alter the essence of existing neighborhoods, diminish economic value of homes, and intrude on the quality of life for citizens of all races. Furthermore, there is no evidence that this zoning change would successfully address the important issue of providing more affordable housing in our community. A broad group of citizens from diverse backgrounds have spoken out against this proposal, as have leaders from the clergy, architects, city planners, and several politicians. Please listen to our voices, and let's all work together to find other solutions to housing problems that create win-win results. Do not vote for a proposal that will cause unnecessary harm to our citizenry and to our community. Please vote no on 211, 357, 358, and 359. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Cindy Gordon, followed by Carrie Parker Warren.
Hello. First of all, I would like to say that this was very ill-timed, a meeting like this to address comprehensive zoning issues in the middle of the day when the working class mostly cannot show up. Bad choice of timing. It's been 4 years since these comprehensive zoning changes were placed before were put on the floor in the form of Gainesville Rise. Since then, the commission has had the opportunity to hear evidence from some of the best minds presenting some of the best research available to them regarding a need to have something like this preceded by a plan for traffic, a plan for parking, a plan for infrastructure that has to be the groundwork before any type of large development and rezoning happens. You heard this evidence over and over and over again as this rezoning got referred to staff, dished up in another form, referred to staff again, and brought back. There was plenty of opportunity to hear why these changes should not proceed, including the danger it presents to the aquifer, which we all have to live with, which cannot support an unlimited number of folks. If that wasn't sufficient, then certainly the fact that the public, each time it came up, grew in number, grew in diversity, grew in determination to defeat these. I want to thank and recognize the 3 commissioners who've continually stood up against this and ask for one of the 4 others of you to take this off the floor, vote against it, get it out of our faces finally once and for all. In this last and final iteration of Gainesville Rise that the county is opposed to, that the state is opposed to, that the citizens are opposed to, if you don't oppose it, you are acting as profiles in cowardice instead of profiles in courage. Please vote this down.
Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Charles. Mr. Charles, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'd like to speak out against these 3 comprehensive plan ordinances that are on the table. I think this is ridiculous, and I do believe that Monica Cooper was the closest to the real subject here is a financial disaster that is occurring in Gainesville as you speak. The city of Gainesville has had no financial statement for the past 3 years. They have fallen into deep financial despair and to the point where they cannot even report their finances to the state of Florida timely or adequately. They have told us not only did they not report it now, that the prior year is also not accurate, and that has to be called back. The real issue here, to go to Gary's point, is to educate the people of Gainesville. The city commission knows what the financial problems are, and they're withholding it from the people of Gainesville until after the election. That includes Harvey Ward, who has come out recently against this current proposal, but he's just as thick as thieves with the little guy in the center there. They have a bad track record and have not done anything for the city of Gainesville or affordable housing for their entire term. So this is all a red herring to distract you from the real issue, which is the financial disaster that Lauren Poe has presided over the city of Gainesville books. You will shortly come to know the details of this when it all seeps out from the finalization of the state of Florida audit. It's a shame that it cannot be brought to the people at this time, because it will enlighten you to the fact that that little criminal sitting in the middle of the dais there is the person responsible for orchestrating all of this to try to raise taxes to pay off the enormous debt that he has incurred on behalf of the citizens of Gainesville. Old Adrian and David, they were swept in an election both at the same time. There's nothing more than bought and paid for shills that are selling you out. People of Gainesville, rise up and fight back. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Here is Carrie Parker Warren, followed by Robert Mounts.
I'm Carrie Parker Warren, and I'm here to represent Azalea Trails. And again, I'm here to support exclusionary housing and zoning. We are passionate about this, and none of you can be as passionate about this as we are, because you don't live on the east side of town. Your needs may not be what our needs are. You don't look like us, and you can't think for us. As before, I'd like to thank our friends that we have here today, the 3 commissioners that are our friends. We're still looking for another friend so that this will not pass. I agree that this is not fair to the citizens of this city. You're willing to sacrifice us for your little egos, and we don't like that. No one wants to be disrespected. So I'm going to start off by saying, if the shoe fits, wear it. No one wants to be called unfair. They don't want to be called a racist. They don't want to be called biased. And they don't want to be labeled as blatantly discriminating. If you exercise the behavior that defines these adjectives or whatever they are, as a person, if you exercise that behavior that defines this, that person can wear the shoe if it fits them. If you give people something on the other side of town that they want, and you come on our side of the town where you don't see many people that look like you, and you deny us of what we want, then in one of those categories you stand. If the shoe fits, wear it. When you rank, I have had some of you in my home, and I don't usually, I really am usually selective when I do that. When you were running for office, they say, let's get some young people in. But the young people are the ones that have stabbed us in the back and continue to twist the knife. If you ever decide to run in this city or county again, we're going to be as passionate about getting you out, not letting you get in office in this county again, or in this city again.
Thank you, Ms. Parker Warren. Appreciate you
If
speaking.
the shoe fits,
Thank you.
Wear it.
Appreciate that. Adam, do you have anybody on the line?
We do, sir.
Go ahead.
Ms. Evelyn Fox. Evelyn, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Evelyn Fox. I am not currently the president of the Alachua County branch of the NAACP. I'm calling in on behalf of our membership and the citizens of Gainesville. We are urging you not to support this. It sounds to me from what I've heard, and I was at the last meeting, you all sound like a bunch of trumpets. You're going to do what you want to do, like Donald Trump. You don't sound at all like a Democrat to me, because Democrats are the people candidates, and you listen to the voice of the people. So all 4 of you have turned to be like Donald Trump, where it doesn't matter what the people who elected you are saying to you today. These people are passionate about this, and all I am asking, and all we're asking you to do, is listen to the people who elected you. I mean, it's disrespectful for you all not to consider all the citizens that have been before you since this issue came up. So please, and I usually say this every time I'm against something, please listen to the people who elected you. Please don't turn to trumpets. All of you are like Donald Trump now. You just don't want to listen to anybody but yourselves. So please refrain from being Donald Trump because we voted for you. Most of the people here that's sitting in the audience and are listening at home, we are the people that elected commissioners and a mayor that we thought would listen to the citizens of Gainesville. We are not ignorant people. And that's the way it's being portrayed by you all. We are so ignorant that you're not even listening to us. That's the way it looks here. So please listen to the people who elected you. And please don't go out. Your legacy will not be that we were like Donald Trump and the Republicans. And I'm not bashing the Republicans because a lot of them are not in support of this. But please don't be like Donald Trump and not listen to the people who elected you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Robert Mounts, followed by Abe
Thank you.
Goldman.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Robert Mounts, former president for 3 of 4 years of the University Park Neighborhood Association. I left copies of my remarks with the clerk earlier this afternoon, and a little while ago I saw her pass them out to each one of them. And then I saw Commissioner Sacco take a piece of paper, walk briskly to the trash bag in the corner, and summarily dump it in the trash. I saw it. Well, it's always amazing to me, Evelyn Fox, Commissioner Chestnut, Commissioner Desmond Walker, how white people choose to speak for the African American community and to tell them about equity and what they need and what they must have. I can't believe it. For me, it has always been about protecting family neighborhoods close to the University of Florida and Santa Fe College's Blount Center, including the historically African American neighborhoods of Porter's Quarters and Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street. In short, it's purely a local issue, arising from the fact that economic incentive for new development is overwhelmingly tilted towards luxury student housing, market rate student housing, not affordable or workforce housing. In Gainesville, it pits neighborhoods against developers and absentee owners and their property managers against the people. The 2017 Gainesville Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code was mostly written by developers, you know it, and severely limits citizen input or influence. I reject the idea that the issue has anything to do with partisan politics, whether progressive or conservative, Democrat or Republican. I'm a Democrat. Every member of the commission is a Democrat. Ken Cornell and those on the county commission who objected to this are Democrats. Our Republican legislators are just latching onto this because they think it'll resonate with the people. The only thing partisan about the response from the Department of Economic Opportunity, nay, rebuke, was the name of the official who signed it, who happens to be Republican. Otherwise, it simply documents the city's failure to do the studies and analysis necessary to show that ending single-family zoning will actually produce affordable housing without extreme damage to established neighborhoods, quality of life, infrastructure, the aquifer, and the natural environment. The burden of proof, as another speaker has said, is on the city, not the state. You haven't done it. You have said you thought it was a very political letter.
Thank you, Mr. Mounts. I'm afraid your time has expired, but I appreciate you being here, and we do have them in writing, so thank you. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Mayor.
don't believe it's 3 minutes.
Pardon me?
No, go ahead, Adam.
Okay, we have at least 2 or 3 callers right now in the queue. Ernesto Martinez, you have 3 minutes.
Oh, yes. Thank you for taking my call. And I would be remiss if I did not stand with my fellow citizens in opposing this drastic financial disaster, this drastic mistake that you are fixing to make today, which will only cost us additionally to correct it with the new commission coming in, as has already been pointed out. First of all, I want to echo loudly and support loudly Mr. Brian O'Brien's comments, especially in the fact of this major distraction that you are putting on the people of Gainesville to take the focus off of the financial disaster that we are already in, but will come to fruition in the next few days. There's two people on that commission that can be totally trusted and that are in genuine support of Gainesville, and they are Cynthia Chestnut and Desmond Walker. These two ladies are leading the charge. I also want to ask all of you up there what your parents think of this decision you're making, or your grandparents. I don't know if any of you have been keeping track, as some of you used to make little marks on a piece of paper for how many times we talked, but there have been at least 99 citizens that have told you in no uncertain terms how strongly they oppose this. There may have been 2 students, maybe 3, that you managed to find to bring in there, and I promised them an A+ in their studies. They should be laughed out of the county. And they're going to leave anyway. They're not going to stay around. But again, I want to go back to Mr. Brian O'Brien's point. This financial disaster that you have created and continue to create is going to haunt you the rest of your life. And you guys have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Dave Goldman, followed by Arnall Downs.
Yeah, we're kind of where that remote is there. Let me just move it over a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you. My name is Abe Goldman. I'm the current president of the University Park Neighborhood Association, which is quite large in extent. And you, Commissioner Arreola, actually you came to our door when you first ran, and we supported you both times. And Commissioner Hayes Santos, you specifically represent, or I guess I'm using that term rather loosely, but you were included in the areas of your districts. But you don't seem to believe in representative government anymore, at least you're not displaying any of that. And I wanted to show you a little bit of the areas within the larger University Park neighborhood. This is the corner of 25th Street and Southwest 2nd Avenue. It's a very small bit of street in going between University and Southwest 2nd, but it helps to illustrate this and what's going on elsewhere in College Park and University Park. It helps to illustrate 3 of the major fallacies that you're working on and that you seem to be promoting with great abandon. One is that we need more density, and that really that we're dominated by single-family housing. That's true only in a nominal sense in many cases. Another one is that you're, as many people have pointed out, that increasing construction of new housing, new multiplexes is going to increase affordability. And the third one, most spectacularly fallacious, is that this is going to reduce the carbon footprint in Gainesville. Okay, this little street has 16 nominally single-family houses on it. Every single one of them is a rental house. Most of them have multiple, in fact, all of them have multiple renters. If you, as I did recently, as I've done a number of times, count the number of cars on this street, parked on this street, they range from about 35 to over 50. Okay, just 2 blocks. If we increase that density by adding several stories to these rather somewhat older single-family houses, nominally single-family houses, we could be talking about 100 cars. I don't know, where are you going to put them? Stack them up? The other thing that's here are a lot of trees. I tried to count them. There are over 70 full-size trees on this little street. Now, if we move over to a recently developed area, this is 19th Street at around 5th Avenue. There's all this nice new multiplex construction. They're not bad. They look nice.
Thank you, Abe. I'm afraid your time has expired.
All right. Well, let me point out there are no trees.
Thank you very much. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Alex Posa. Alex, you have 3 minutes.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure can.
Hello?
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm in support of the upzoning. I'm one of those students who apparently got an A+ for my previous speech. Sorry about that. Hideous planet-destroying car-dependent sprawl is perhaps the worst of America's exports. There's no way around it. Those who oppose such a modest upzoning proposal are climate arsonists. I do not understand why a commission allegedly composed entirely of Democrats could be split on this issue. It's true that the two parties are not as far apart on issues as I would sometimes like, but I thought the one party was supposed to at least accept the overwhelming consensus on climate change. Now, if I had my druthers, we have a robust public housing system on the line of Singapore, but sadly, this is not something a city of only 140,000 people could do on its own. In addition, there's nothing about this proposal that precludes public housing anyway. The claims about giveaways to developers is just a smokescreen. I want to know, do the 3 opponents deny climate change? Do they not care what will happen to the world that you leave to future generations? Do you believe the outrageous lies of boomer NIMBYs about trees for their cries about neighborhood character? I do not know, but I do know that opposition to upzoning is environmental suicide. I would like all those who vote against this to go on record why you think the property values of angry boomer homeowners are more important than climate change. Look at the audience. They'll all be dead before climate change takes place. It is also funny that a previous caller mentioned Trump. Apparently, he did not read the op-ed from the Wall Street Journal where he used white racist dog whistles to support suburbia. I'm pretty curious that there are 3 of you who are so beholden to insane boomers that would vote against such a modest proposal. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
All Downs, followed by David Wilson.
You almost missed me, Commissioners. It's Arnold Downs. I'd like to say hello this evening. Many of you may remember so far back as the creation of the College Park University Heights Advisory Board. I served on that board for 8 years from its inception, and one of the things that I fought the hardest for was to get affordable housing added to a list of requirements for developers getting tax breaks for the Community Redevelopment Agency's funds and, tax exemptions. And you know what? I finally got it on the list, but it was an option. It wasn't required. And this is what's going to happen here, I'm afraid. Now, I know that at least 2 of you that are against this are smart enough to know exactly what's going to happen. The others of you, the other 2, not so sure. But we don't have the infrastructure that's new enough to support this. The money that, raising the infrastructure to the level to accommodate something like this is going to be phenomenal. And we're going to be spending the city of Gainesville all our money paying for this lawsuit that is undoubtedly going to happen. Now, most of you know that I bought a very, very, very beat up rental house on 8th Avenue 33 years ago. And my husband and I, mostly with our own hands, but we did give some local people jobs in helping us with skills we didn't have. And we've taken those 2 log cabins to the National Historic Register. I mean, it's not I haven't put the work in, I have. And there's a rental dwelling there. That rental dwelling is limited to 1 person and 1 automobile. How many people do you think are going to follow me in this? I think none. I think that you're going to have communities torn apart by this. I know it. And I beg you to table this, get rid of it. If you can push it off for months, do it, but stop now. Stop tonight, because this will only hurt our city, and I know that at least 2 of you know better than this. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you.
And madams.
Adam, back to you.
All righty, sir. We go to Maureen. Maureen, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Commissioners, today, once again, you'll consider a few widely unpopular ordinances for unclear and unclarified reasons against the will of the vast majority of your constituents. Will you once again defy the will of your people, as you have for almost every terrible decision that you have burdened us with, that we will pay for God knows how long? Will you once again abrogate your duties to harm the very fabric of our long-term working family neighborhoods, many historically African American? Will you leave a wake of radical corporatization of our town? Will you turn us into a renter community with everyone at the mercy of capricious out-of-town rental companies? Will you finally answer the question, how many empty rooms are there in Gainesville? What percent of huge luxury apartments that are replacing our single-family neighborhoods near campus are actually rented? How many of the new dwellings being contemplated will actually be affordable to Gainesville's working poor? I guess it's not going to happen for 5 years. I guess you'll all be in comfortable positions by then. Why does this matter? Because it is the rationale for the whole thing. So to push it through without being able to answer these questions is irresponsible and reprehensible. Some of you are okay with that. You have eyes on some kind of hidden prize. Perhaps now more than ever, the citizens of Gainesville are watching what each one of you do. You have drawn a spotlight with your extreme actions and legislation. Finally, the 2 of you who consistently represent us faithfully and competently, Commissioners Duncan Walker and Chestnut, I thank you and I salute you. You are earning your pay and doing your job, unlike the others, in my opinion. And I admire your poise and patience in the midst of such absolute baloney. I would want to take a fly swatter. You show us that it could be done by those who listen to us, the people, and act in good faith. You too give me hope. Please, Commissioners, do the right thing today and serve the will of your people. Vote down anti-neighborhood ordinances 21357, 211358, and 211359. The first one was 211357. And I want to reiterate what one of the callers pointed out, that Commissioners Ward, Hayes Santos, Sacco, and Poe live in communities that are deed restricted, that are immune to the things that they are laying upon the rest of us now. And I want to say that UF needs to replace its own housing. They took out graduate student housing and are wanting to put in a soccer field. They could put housing over all those parking lots.
All the time you have, Maureen.
Wilson, followed by Peggy Carr.
David Wilson had to leave.
Just now? I just saw him. He was just here. Mr. Wilson, you outside? He literally just came in. Why don't we take Ms. Carr and then we'll see if he's still here.
There he is.
Go ahead,
You can
we'll
go
get
after
him
me.
next. Yeah, we'll just
Okay.
switch you.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, to begin, let me say I strongly object to the fact that you've limited public comment to 3 minutes on the combination of 3 ordinances under consideration today. This is patently unfair, given the complexity and detail of the proposals. But it does demonstrate your apparent belief that these ordinances should be considered as one package of initiatives rather than as individual actions. That said, here are my comments about 2 of the ordinances that are before you. I'm a native of Gainesville, living in the Florida Park neighborhood within a mile of the University of Florida. Your proposed elimination of the single-family land use designation and the density increase from 8 to 15 units per acre allowed by Ordinance 211357 threatens my neighborhood, and I will be affected should this amendment be deemed in compliance by the state. 2 other reasons for my opposition to this ordinance are the proposed changes will disproportionately affect historically African American neighborhoods, and tear downs and new construction of multifamily units will only accelerate there. Just as I have a long history of roots in Florida Park, most who live in historically African American neighborhoods have those same kinds of ties. One of the 3 core concepts of sustainability is community. The city's proposal ignores the importance of community in the sustainability equation. The city has tried to sell this land use change as a way to increase affordable housing, and yet no evidence has been provided to support this claim. Instead, the city has ignored studies that demonstrate the housing market is not fluid, but is segmented, and increased supply in one price range does not translate into increased supply in others. The proposal will only increase the availability of market rate housing. I also strongly oppose Ordinance 211359 because of its elimination of bedroom limits. This will open the door to the construction of de facto fraternity and sorority houses that will negatively impact the integrity of formerly single-family neighborhoods, including mine. The proposed elimination of occupancy limits is as bad, if not worse. It will greatly increase trips generated from a single housing unit, the amount of parking necessary to support each unit, and the demand placed on the forms of infrastructure like sanitary sewer and water. It will pose a threat to public safety from crowded roadways that will restrict access from emergency vehicles. However, if you forge ahead and choose to adopt this misguided ordinance, I strongly recommend you change its effective date to match ordinances 211357 and 211358, because if it is immediately effective, it is immediately in conflict with our existing comprehensive plan. All 3 of these ordinances should have the same effective date.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Appreciate that. Mr. Wilson, let's go and get you next, and then we'll go back to Adam.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilson. I've lived in Gainesville for 50 years. I've lived within 7 blocks of the UF campus for 42 years. And I'm directly impacted by what you're about to do. In fact, let's just put it bluntly, I'm at ground zero. Because we're affected by yard parking, trash, noise, flash parties. We have the full gamut of what's going on. And I find it absurd to be thinking that we're going to get affordable housing. The housing that's going up around me, from the standard to the dorm units, essentially on 19th Street, and now we have a whole bunch of new boxes, 10 boxes just west of the Gate gas station on 13th Street, and these are all moving towards me. It all increases these problems, and the talk about affordable housing is ridiculous. These are not affordable housing for any kind of single-family unit. These are 4-bedroom, 4-bath with a common area. And I strongly urge you to just move on, continue this, and don't vote for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Jesse Boyd up next. Jesse, you have 3 minutes.
Hello. I may be young, but I'm not a student. So let me just make it very clear. I'm a working professional. To begin, I would like to say that I understand the concern in this reform. I understand that our homes and where they lay are a respite of safety from an uncertain outside world. And when a basic pillar of our physical needs sees that any change, it could be traumatic. I have a question for Gainesville residents. We want our children to be able to stay in Gainesville because there is a simple math problem we cannot ignore. There is an unchanging amount of land, but a growing population. Gainesville has been blessed with an economic explosion of opportunity in healthcare, tech, education, and more. Something we have all seen enormous benefit from and would have been worse off had it never happened. Now, many others that deserve their chance at a brighter future come to Gainesville in the pursuit of happiness. Without change, we are pitting honest people against each other. We are forcing our children that want to stay in the city they call home to compete with the people that want to be productive members of our community. We do not allow for modest accommodations, such as duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. Much of the native youth in Gainesville will face the miserable inevitability of being priced out through competition. Lastly, I would like to address the concerns of those that the new housing won't be affordable. New housing does not need to be affordable to create affordable housing. A well-studied phenomenon in economics that also applies to housing called filtering will take hold. Studies from UCLA and MIT show that luxury housing absorbs the demand of the wealthy and leaves the more modest older homes to those that can't afford new. Much in the same way that many of us buy used cars because we can't afford new cars. And if new cars saw an enormous drop in production like we've seen in housing, they too would see a huge increase in price. I understand your fear. I understand the fear of change. But we need to make these changes or Gainesville will become a boutique city for the wealthy, like San Francisco, who refused to build housing when they needed it most. Mayor commissioners who are voting in favor, academic and expert opinion is on your side. Please stay strong and legalize housing. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Melanie Barr, followed by Corey Brunson.
Hello. I'd like to say that I really agree with the person who said, let's put this in your neighborhood first and see how you like it. You are actually forcing something onto all the neighborhoods that is non-consensual. They don't want it. And I can tell you what's done in the Duck Pond neighborhood that is just the opposite. It's naturally occurring. What happened was there was big homes there, built originally, and then after World War II, they needed places to put the soldiers who were coming here to get their GI benefits at the university. So the large homes got divided up into quadruplexes and more, sometimes 5 or 6 units. Well, 30 years later, what's naturally occurring is that homeowners are buying the houses and converting a multifamily house to a single-family house. This is stabilizing the neighborhood because renters come and go. They don't feel bonded to the neighborhood in most part, occasionally, but not too often. And now the people that are living there are homeowners, and it's not a lot of renters. There are still renters. I would say maybe below 8th Avenue, maybe 50% are renters. And some are very long-term renters. If the price doesn't go up, they stay. So what is interesting is that one home most recently that was actually pointed out by the consultant who was at the community plaza talking about, I guess, the multifamily housing. She showed a picture of this one large house that had 6 units in it, and it's been converted to a single-family house for a man and his child and wife. And what's funny is he is posting that he's in favor of multifamily housing. Well, it's do as I say, not as I do. So some of these people who are supporting this may actually be doing the opposite. I can give you a concrete example. I know this person that did that. Do you personally want a quadplex next to you? Think about this. Full of renters, 5 feet from the property line, 10 foot from the backyard. This eliminates all the trees and bushes. This is why we like Gainesville. This is why we love our neighborhoods, because of the large trees and bushes, the big azaleas. Cars are going to be packed everywhere. There's not going to be enough parking. There'll be up and down the streets. Is this still going to be a safe place for your children to walk or people to trick or treat? You choose the house you live in because you like the house, but you like the neighborhood. You're forcing this on the neighborhoods that don't want it. You're destabilizing them. Most renters have the dream of moving to a single family home after their renting is up. Everybody starts out as a renter. You end up in a single family home. That's what you want. You're destroying the American dream. People don't want this. It's not consensual, and it's time to stop it. Put multifamily housing where it should go. How about the vacant parking lots and the vacant shopping centers?
Thank you, Ms. Barr. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, we do not have anybody in the queue.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Corey Brunson, followed by Graham Bernstein.
Hello. I apologize for not having been part of this conversation earlier. I only moved to Gainesville about a year and a half ago, and I've enjoyed it immensely. But I have not been as politically active and attentive.
Do you mind pulling the mic a little? Just you can move it up.
Sure.
There you go.
I've not been as politically attentive as I feel I should have been. So what I want to do is just share my perspective for the most part. I am a non-student renter, and I aspire to eventually be a homeowner. And I am in favor of the elimination of single-family zoning for that reason. To the extent that I want to own a home, I want to own a home that suits my needs. I currently live alone. If I lived with a partner, then I would still want my dwelling to be relatively low impact. I don't need an entire lot to myself. I am a cyclist. I have no intention of owning a car, and I need to be able to access the benefits of the city from where I live. And I want to be able to interact on a daily basis naturally with my neighbors, which from my experience growing up in a variety of neighborhoods is quite difficult, or can be quite difficult in single-family zoned areas. I want to be able to age in place, which is a lot easier when my neighbors share a roof. And if I have kids, I want them to be able to relocate to home without having to kick me out. Based on the experiences of other municipalities, it seems pretty difficult to doubt that the elimination of single-family zoning will make home ownership more accessible and will reduce our per capita impact to climate change. But I had to figure this out on my own, and so I have a suggestion for the City Commission, which is to make staff reports more accessible and easier to read on the website. This took me a while of my own searching. And also to make more transparent the curation and citation of sources that constitute that background of knowledge that we rely on to make informed policy decisions. I also wish that we had a stronger record of input from the renter community. Maybe it's been out there and I have not found it, but they seem to have been a little less represented in this conversation than their share of the population of the city would suggest. Thanks.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Bernstein, followed by Fran Turner.
Good evening. My name is Graham Bernstein. I've lived in Gainesville for around 20 years, so my entire lifespan. And my father is a dentist here in town, and my mother is a professor at the university. And I've had a relatively easy life, but anyone who's spent time in Gainesville is well aware that we have people who struggle with issues of housing instability and homelessness. The United States Census found that the average Gainesville citizen spends 40% of their income on rent. If you take into account the expenses they're spending on rent, on health care, on homeowners insurance, on all sorts of other things, then you have the simple fact that people are going to struggle to keep their homes. And when Minneapolis abolished single-family zoning from 2020 to 2022, they saw their rents decrease by 10% compared to when there was a national rise in rents at that same period in time by 10%. So I think it's the American thing to do as someone who has had a relatively easy life, who has not struggled with housing instability, to help people get homes by increasing density. And I understand this is a complicated issue. Dijon Kane, I have a lot of respect for him. I've spoken with him extensively. We disagree vehemently on this issue. It's a complicated issue. But in my personal opinion, based on the literature I've reviewed, it seems like the American thing to do. And in terms of issues of neighborhood safety, for instance, the National Library of Medicine found that there has been a reduction in recidivism by a large amount when people are able to have housing. This makes sense. If you have a stable life, you're less likely to commit crimes. There have been surveys and studies by the University of Texas, the University of Arkansas, showing that multi-family housing developments have not contributed to high increases in crime. And there have been studies by the MIT Center for Real Estate, the Iowa Finance Authority, and others looking at property values for single-family homes in places that have not abolished multifamily zoning versus places that have, showing that the impacts on property values for single-family homes have been negligible and in some cases even positive, and this makes sense. People are still going to want single-family homes, and there's going to be development potential. So concerns about property values, I understand. I mean, to the complete extent, I can't because I don't own a home. But from the literature I've reviewed, it just makes sense. And it seems like the American thing to do to look out for those who don't have the ability right now to own a home. So for those reasons, I'm in favor of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Tunner, followed by Nancy Morris. Tanner, apologies.
Hi, my name is
And
Frances.
ma'am, you just might need to pull that down a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, my name's Fran Tanner, and I had three thoughts when I first heard about this. First, how does urban infill promote affordable housing? And is this really about affordable housing? It didn't seem to me it was. And my other thought was, who's behind this? Who wants it? Who brought it up? Whose idea was it? And the other thought is, why do you think this particular community, or why do you think Gainesville can handle this particular type of infill in the way of parking and cars and transportation and, just the ground and what do you call, utilities. And I want to point out also that I was a single mother. I decided I needed a home, and I wanted a home, and I wanted a single-family home, and I looked for the home I wanted, and I found out, how much it would cost and how I could afford it, and I divided it down and bought the home, paid for the home, and now it's going to be taken away, essentially because you're going to make it not the home I bought. In other words, I don't want a whole bunch of people around. I want trees. And my utilities are not very much because I have trees. So that's basically what I have to say. If I want, you can have an affordable home if you can figure out how to pay for it, and I did. And I was only working part-time. So, like I say, if I can do it, most people can figure it out somehow or another. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Morris, followed by Eric Lewis.
Good afternoon, perhaps evening by now. I'm opposed to the changes, and I'm hoping I'm a little bit of an optimist that one of you four in the middle are having some doubts, just a little doubt, maybe enough that you would think that we need to stop this thing or postpone it until we can do the studies that we need to do about utilities and about parking problems. I think that this has not been researched enough. I think it's well-intended, but it has not been researched enough. And to make these tremendous changes in one fell swoop is far too much. We need to study it. We need to maybe look at doing it, if you want to do it in one small area, see how it works. I was concerned when I saw that the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity said that the plan was scattered and unplanned and could very well result in more people not having affordable housing. This was the state agency, and we're not listening to them? That doesn't quite make sense. I would encourage you to really think about this. Search your souls and think about the injustice of destroying neighborhoods. I'm a neighbor of Fran's, and I agree. I moved into the neighborhood I did because I like it. I love all the trees, and I like the woods nearby. We already have 2 Airbnbs that have come into the neighborhood, and I know it wasn't your fault. You couldn't help that. That was someone above you that made that happen. But when you have strangers coming in your neighborhood and 4 or 5 cars parked in their front yard, it changes the whole character of the neighborhood. It doesn't feel as safe. I'm not fearful of change. Life is change. That's the way life is. But I think we need to be very planful and do what we can to promote community for everybody. I just think the developers have pulled the wool over people's eyes, that it has not been shown how it is going to bring any more housing to people in need. So please reconsider, those 4 of you, and thank you for the 3 of you that have already decided that you don't support this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Eric Lewis, followed by Joe Beatty.
Hello, I'm Eric Lewis. Second time I've been before here. Usually worry about county issues and environmental impacts over on East Alachua County. I'm just going to keep a couple of broad points. The one thing that really disturbs me here is that I don't believe you have popular support. We're in a democracy. When you run for an election, we sit there and we think about, okay, what issues do they support? And we make selections. So I voted for 2 of you. 2 of you are in special districts. And I would never have voted for you had you ran on this campaign. So that's my first issue. I personally think an issue this big should be put on the ballot, or something to get the consensus of the community. It's a big issue. It's a big change. You may be right. You may be wrong. The evidence is not out there. The studies cited, I've looked at them. I don't see it. It's definitive. The gentleman that spoke just a few minutes ago that's been here for 20 years talked about Minneapolis. He said prices dropped 10%. Well, we all know that correlation does not mean causation. So we have no idea without looking at other elements of what happened there, of why prices dropped. Okay, maybe you do. So again, the big issue to me is that none of you ran on this. So you should run on this. Now, we just had an election, and as Gary Gordon pointed out, 85% of the people in the mayor election voted for a candidate that does not support this. That's a big deal, 85%, okay? Most of the people speaking here that aren't UF college students are against this. We all have lived here for years. You and I have lived here for years. I've been here since 1967. I grew up in the student ghetto and the hippie ghetto and in the Northeast. Then I have another question. Have you really studied what's going on with housing as far as Airbnbs? How are they affecting prices in the city of Gainesville? And how much is that appreciating value? I heard about a house that's just sold for $350,000 on 9th Street. 4-bedroom, 1 bath, $350,000. In the height of the bubble in 2006, it wouldn't have been for more than $150,000. What's going on there? The person buying it, Airbnbs. Okay, then I guess that put me on another thought, which is, so next door to me, a person could build 4 Airbnbs?
Yeah, I'm afraid your time has expired, but thank you for sharing that with us. Madam Clerk?
Call one more time for Ms. Jo Beatty. Taylor Simmons.
Let's just, Adam, do you have anybody on the line just while we're checking for people here?
We do not at this time, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm a lifelong resident of Gainesville.
If you could introduce just tell us your name.
Taylor Simmons.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners. I'm a lifelong resident of Gainesville, and I'd like to speak in favor of this change. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to tell you a story. It's not happy, but rather a cautionary tale. The story takes place in a Sunbelt city with a top 5 public university. This city pursued single-family zoning as a means of increasing affordability as new residents moved in. And to their credit, it worked for a time. Eventually, the city ran out of space to build, and the housing market exploded, making housing costs untenable and forcing residents out of the city. Now, you'll probably be unsurprised to learn that this was not a fictional tale, but instead the very real city of Los Angeles. We are facing an enormous rise in the cost of living, but we are fortunate in the sense that we are not the first to face these kinds of struggles. The California government is finally realizing their mistake and is forcing San Francisco, Los Angeles, and other cities to comply with state housing law. They are remedying this issue because people are fleeing the state. We are lucky because we have the opportunity to nip this problem in the bud. We have the chance to temper inflationary pressures before we end up like other major cities. We are not the first to face this crisis, and we are not the first to test solutions. People worried about the ramifications of these reforms should look at the results in places that have implemented them. Finland has pursued zoning reform and upzoning in a policy known as Housing First. Coincidentally, Finland is the only country in Europe where homelessness and housing insecurity are falling. Helsinki is one of the only cities where they're falling as well. It would be a shame for Gainesville to forego these reforms. The urban planning experts agree that it's good policy, the economists agree that it's good policy, and many of the renters seem to agree that it's good policy. I hope that the city will follow through on its reforms and that we can see a more affordable Gainesville. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Holloway.
Before Mr. Holloway? Okay, we got 2 people before you. Is it just quick? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
To be excused for shortly, I will return.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know. Go ahead, Mr. Holloway.
Have the overhead, please. Wilbur Holloway. I can't help but note the timing of this is horrible. A Monday, 3 o'clock. I mean, it's going to run so late that maybe some of the working people can show up for this. What I'd like to point out is the cranes. There's 3 of them. How do you feel about that, Gainesville? Transformational. Big boxes, canyons, just all of our charm that makes Gainesville, that made Gainesville what Gainesville was, it's wiped out. It's under a big old box. last Monday was Indigenous Persons Day, and Mr. Poe made an announcement, which I received on my phone, and basically it talked about, oh, we're apologizing for the injuries that we've done to the indigenous communities. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I suspect that someone will be apologizing for you and what you're doing to this community. Who do you think you are? It's unbelievable. I mean, you're throwing up these boxes, you're bulldozing the reason that lots of people moved here. I was born here. I've been here since 1961. You're destroying the city. You're destroying the charm. It's your gall is just for y'all. I mean, I welcome the rest of you to the party. We've been fighting this lunacy for decades now. I mean, do you know that we had to pay $20 million in additional bond money because they would not cut their spending? They would not pay. They don't know what they're doing. You guys are a joke, and I'm sorry. I've tried to be nice. I've tried to be funny. I've tried to be factual. No, you know where I wind up? I wind up at sarcasm and venom. That's where I am. Please leave and do not come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Matthew Yamanos, followed by Dean Mims.
Mr. Mims, go ahead. I don't see Matt in here right now, so go ahead and come on up. Dean, if you want. Yeah, good. I don't see Matt.
Good evening. Dean Mims, Florida resident since the mid-'80s, Gainesville resident since some in the 80s, but mostly since December 1997. I have really just some comments on process and an overall recommendation. I'll try and keep it short in respect of everybody. First of all, and this is important, numerous essential documents are not attached to today's agenda. These documents include, but are not limited to, the voluminous citizen petitions and comments pertaining to these proposals. Staff report from the Department of Sustainable Development, the City Plan Board meeting, hearing of June 6th, 2022, Plan Board meeting minutes of June 6th, 22, and very importantly, the City Commission minutes from the August 4th, 2022 transmittal hearing. They're not there, and I went back into the archives, and they're not there as of this morning. I found that particularly a stunning omission before a public hearing here. These are substantial omissions. They are not supportive of the public's review of these major proposals. The City Commission is proceeding towards final adoption of this comprehensive plan amendment despite the fundamentally different recommendation of the City Plan Board against the stated concerns of thousands of Gainesville residents and in contradiction of the substantive comments of the State of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, which is the state land planning agency under Florida statutes, despite its name du jour under whatever governor, that's the current name, and those of the Alachua County Commission. FDOT made some comments as well, not strong, but not nothing. The presumed approval of this comprehensive plan amendment may well be heading for appeal under applicable Florida law. Each of the three ordinances heading for this presumed approval today, and maybe I'm presuming too much, includes provisions that are inconsistent with the adopted City of Gainesville comprehensive plan. This fraught course is not necessary, and if this comprehensive plan amendment and the related zoning petition and land development code changes is neither denied today as it needs to be, nor sent back to staff and the City Plan Board for fundamental revision, at the very least, and in accordance with your stated goal of citizen centricity and in deference to a soon-to-be elected new City Commission, the final adoption hearing should be postponed until early next year, when a new City Commission will be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Yamanos, do we have you? Go ahead, Madam Clerk, to the next person.
Our next speaker is Carly Blount, followed by Christina Fields.
Hello. My 66th birthday was 11 days ago, and y'all didn't get me anything. So I'm going to ask you for this right now. Give me your imaginations for a minute. Think about Gainesville if there had never been redlining, if there had never been racial codes in housing, if there had never been segregation at all, no separate lunch counters, schools, buses, drinking fountains, what would this town be like if the descendants of the enslaved and the descendants of the slave owners had mixed freely without all the things that came with the legacies of the lost cause? I think that some astute historical analysis went into the intention behind this move, understanding what created our situation of deep inequality and two cities. But the path forward has not been chosen correctly. You cannot fix this in one fell swoop. In fact, just reversing single-family zoning is one of 100 different cuts that went into building this dilemma. And at this point in time, because of where and when we are, because of the condition of the housing market now, because we're in this university town, because you have a nationwide network of developers roaming and waiting for wherever they can pounce on the current hot button of luxury student housing, that once you do this, you will end up with your formerly single-family neighborhoods dotted with multifamily housing that the earlier speaker said, 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, $4,000 apartments. There is not an iota of language that I found in the current proposal that actually addresses, not suggests or wishes, but sets price point. And nothing to address design standards. So you wouldn't get that 4-bedroom, 4-bath thing that is not a family situation. So you need to be moving toward what actually generates affordable housing units ASAP, and this is not it. At least stop pretending that this is about getting affordable housing, because it is not going to do that. You're going to have people regretting your tenure in office, and I think you want to have something good to look back on. We need to involve the private market in creating affordable units. All the budget of the city and the county put together could not build enough affordable units. If you don't involve the private sector, it will not happen.
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. No applause, please. Thank you.
Christie?
He does play the Jazz Bandits, and that is a great opportunity to go see him and applaud wildly as one of those shows. Ms. Fields, go ahead on that.
Christina Fields, followed by Walter Willard Jr.
I would like to think that this commission would support the current citizens of Gainesville and not some futuristic population that hypothetically will arrive to change the current landscape of Gainesville. The commission, it appears, is more responsive to the university's drive for student housing than the needs of existing established neighborhoods. I would like to see the statistics and the analysis where the housing will be affordable in the future with the continued building of these boxes. Gainesville is becoming a developer's paradise at the expense and the demise and the detriment of our neighborhoods and the beauty of this city. Please consider your vote and vote with the commissioners that want to vote down Ordinance 57, 58, and 59. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Walter Willard Jr.
Mr. Willard, it has been too long, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you back. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, sir. Mayor,
I come down here for 3 reasons. I rise for Archer, High Spring, Newberry, Alachua, Hawthorne, Micanopy, and beyond. People also please learn, not just people of Gainesville. Minneapolis and Los Angeles don't have the sunshine. We got the sunshine and the devil's meal hopper. That bottomless cave on the west side, in the middle of west of Gainesville, center of Gainesville. That's the center of Gainesville, devil's meal hopper. That's the center. Make all your plannings around that. We love the trees, we love the leaves. Which comes first, the trees or the leaves? So I fall off my skateboard, I fall off my scooter, right into the leaves. Whee! When it come time to rain, Lord have mercy. Skateboard, leaf blower ain't gonna cut it. Also, I come down here to test my scooter battery. See if I can make it back and forth between these cities. Because you're gonna be bumping up against the ordinance that requires the commissioners to live in the district in which they are elected or run. You get these apartments stacked up, duplex on top of quadruplex, sextuplets, whatever. I can still make it to Hawthorne. I don't know about Hesper. Hawthorne, Newberry, Archer, Micanopy and beyond. But we're going to High Springs. When they move it to Ocala, start moving our meeting from there to Ocala, then there's going to be another revolt. Ocala is starved. My scooter still make it that far, but I just have to recharge my battery halfway there, halfway back. I still make it. I agree with the woman that said these 3 ordinances, D1, D2, and D3. 3 ordinances, need more than 3 minutes. Comment column says agenda or ordinance item 1. That should be changed to plural. Because you got 3 on here. The comment card says 1. That should be plural. You redact that and repeal that. Is it going to be a revolt? You know what a revolt is? You know what a revolt is? That's Governor Ron DeSantis. When you move our meetings to way out to Israel, this is going to be a rebellion. You ain't seen a revolt yet. Wait till you move our meeting to Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Willard. Madam Clerk? Okay, so Ms. Beatty, Mr. Umanos, can we just maybe poke our head outside and see, make sure they're not out in the hall? Somebody?
Mr. Mayor, we do have a call on the line.
Or if Ms. Beatty or Mr. Umanos are out there and you can hear me, come on in. While we're doing that, Adam, I'll check back with you one more time.
Thank you. We do have a caller on the line.
Adam, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
That's so weird. I'm here.
We can barely hear you.
Oh,
Thank you,
fix
Chris.
that. Okay, good. Figured out what it was. My apologies. We do have a caller on the line, Mary Lou Hildreth. If you're still out there, you have the floor and 3 minutes.
Still out here. Been here since 3. So, Mary Lou Hildreth, good afternoon, almost evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm going to start off with saying yes, I agree with many of the speakers that said a 3 o'clock meeting for people that work, like me, that can't be there in person, is just not acceptable to me. It should have been an evening meeting so that the people that work, the people that do live in some of these smaller single-family neighborhoods, like East Side and the East Side of the city, and then I live in Stephen Foster, for a blue-collar neighborhood, and we just can't leave work to come to these meetings to express our opinions. I did find the people that brought up about the deed restricted that some of you commissioners have. I found that very interesting because I had already thought, well, I know some of these neighborhoods this isn't going to happen in. But in my neighborhood, there is a house. I live on Northwest 33rd Ave on the 1100 block, and there's a house in the 900 block that has recently gone up for sale. It's a shack. It's like a 800 square feet with a big backyard for $153,000. And that is exactly the type of house that the South Florida developer is going to come in and knock down and put up his fourplex in my neighborhood. And as I said the last time I called, I have always owned in a single family neighborhood except when I was young and I had to rent. I started with a small house, I went up to a bigger house, and I went to Keystone, and then I downsized and came here because I like living in a single family neighborhood. My husband gardens, I have dogs, I have neighbors in a diverse neighborhood, it's quiet, we look out for each other, but this is going to change, not just the value of my property, but the quality of my life. And that is not acceptable to me whatsoever. And serving on the Affordable Housing Advisory Commission, we sent a letter saying, hey, we don't want this, the county didn't want this, DEO said it was untenable. I mean, why don't you just get rid of your advisory boards if we don't mean anything? I spent hundreds of hours on 3 different boards over the years and not getting paid, but I guess we don't matter. I suggest you table or table it until the next commission gets seated, or as the other gentleman said, this is too big. Put it out to referendum. We all can't pay attention to what's going on. People like us and the people in the audience do. And finally, there's a public record request to that kid that called us all boomers and will be dead soon. I want his contact information so when I die, I can come back and haunt him. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Adam?
No, sir. That was our last caller for the moment.
Madam Clerk, do we have anybody else? Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Nee, for checking out there. We will close public comment for this meeting and move on to commission deliberation. And up first, we have Commissioner Sacco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff, for working on this, and thank you to everyone for your comments. I wasn't going to speak originally, but after, a lot was said. A lot was said, and it does give us reason to pause and think. And I'm going to try to stick to only facts. So the first one I'll do is I didn't throw away any remarks. I have them right here. Thank you, Mr. Mounts. They're easier to read, and I can review them later. So thank you for providing that copy that I kept here in front of me. What I did throw away was a copy of my deed because I already have one. I don't need another copy. And I don't need thinly veiled remarks or threats saying, I know where you live. My home is public record. I don't need someone coming here telling me they know where I live and how to find me. That said, I do want people to live in my neighborhood. I love my neighborhood. It's why I chose to move there. It's beautiful. But every day I walk through my neighborhood, leave or go through because it has so many kind of meandering roads and I do still get lost. I look at lots, I look at the homes, and I think so many people could live here, but because of prior restrictions, prior zoning, there is such a waste of space. And I don't mean that by look at all these trees that I could chop down. I mean that there is, with the exception of 1,200 feet of housing, 100 by 100 square feet of grass and lawn. That doesn't help anyone, doesn't help our planet. It's overwatered, it's over-fertilized, and it's over-manicured every day, so it's not actually helping anyone in any way, shape, or form. But if a better home were put there, families could live there. Real people. People who are living and breathing, not hypothetical people, real people that you pass every day. There were folks who asked, why don't you put this? I'd love to. I think my neighborhood's really cool. I have a diverse mix of neighbors. I will add that the best neighbors I have are renters. The homeowners across the street, not always great. But the best neighbors I've ever had here, prior homes, renters, because they're people and people are individuals. Everyone is different. You can't say renters are this, students are this, homeowners are this. That's not fair. Every person is an individual. Every person makes their own choices, acts on their own. But the places I've lived, I'm going to list them out as briefly as I can and as best as I can remember them, because I came here when I was 4. So my family didn't have much, didn't have many opportunities, wasn't welcome in a lot of places. So the places we lived in was an apartment that it still makes my mother cry when she recounts where we had to live, where she had to keep her child. Then we moved somewhere even worse because my parents had lost their jobs. Then, really, the biggest upgrade that I can actually remember was being able to purchase a mobile home and live in a mobile park. And my parents thought, this is some privacy that we have here. We don't own the land, but we own these 4 walls, and our kids can be here. They're not in an apartment that we could get kicked out of when the landlord has a bad day. And after that, we moved into a townhome, and that is the home I remember for the longest. They lived there for 14 years. That was their American dream. They had purchased a home that they could keep their family in. It wasn't a single family home. It wasn't very big, but it was 4 walls and a roof. And yeah, they shared a wall, but they had a home for their family that changed and grew. A lot of families, a diversity of families, that could be 1 person, that could be 2 people, that could be 1 mom with 2 kids, that could be 1 family with 7 kids. People need different things. I am supporting this. I know some of you are waving your arms, asking, get to the point, why are you still talking? I'm talking because I was elected to, and I'm going to explain why I'm voting this way, so there's no confusion. I am voting for people to have the opportunity to have families. I'm not voting to take away your home. I'm not voting to bulldoze your home. I'm not voting to do anything to your physical home. That is your home. But if your neighbor sells their land and somebody wants to bulldoze that, now as the new owner, and build something bigger and better that can benefit the community a lot better than 1,000 square feet of not at all efficient housing into something that shelters multiple people, I consider that a job well done. I consider that one good thing that I did from up here. So with that, I'm going to move that we adopt staff's recommended ordinance without the sunset provision and just go for the full effect of what I know will be a good change for the city of Gainesville.
Okay, there's motion and a second that we adopt the ordinance on second reading without the sunset provision.
Yes, sir.
Then we'll move to Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everyone who spoke and wrote in. I do want to address one thing, the deed thing. I don't own that property. I've never owned that property. And I live on a property where there's actually 3 homes. There's a duplex next to me. I live right next to that duplex. And this kind of shows a lot how much misinformation there is on this, and that's unfortunate. From where I live, I can see 4 different duplexes. And I live in the Duck Pond area. And one of the most amazing things by having a diversity of housing is you have a diversity of income and people who live there. There are people who are subsidized and in Section 8 housing and vouchers. And then a few blocks away, there's millionaires living in mansions. That's what you get when you have diversity of housing. You get all different income types. People are moving to our community. Our metro area is 340,000 people. Last year, our community increased by 6,000 real people. That means we had to increase 2,500 homes just to deal with those people coming here, let alone dealing with the deficit that we have in housing. We only have 194 vacant parcels in single-family neighborhoods. That's it. That's 63% of our city is residential, and we only have 194 vacant parcels. 6,000 people moved to our area last year. These issues are only continue to increase as more people move here, and we can't just have a portion of our city sitting in amber. We have to allow more people to live there, or it won't. Our city will continue to get unaffordable. That leads to the status quo is robbing the younger generation from being able to decide where they want to live and the opportunity to own a home. That's why today, many of the people who spoke in favor of this were younger because they see what's happening. They see their hopes and dreams fading away from them because of the increasing housing costs, because of these policies that were put in decades before. The average single-family home in our area costs $350,000. That's increased by I think, close to $100,000 in the last few years. A townhome cost $170,000, which is maybe close to affordable for and still for someone in the median income. The median income person in our community cannot buy a single-family home in our community. It's just not affordable. That's why we have to allow more housing so that our future generations can have a place, can actually follow their dreams. Looking at it, these are incremental changes. They're not going to solve the issues overnight. There are multiple things that have to happen, and the City Commission is working on other things too. But these are being passed across the country to help combat affordable housing. We're not the only ones doing this. These are recommended by affordable housing experts to pass policies similar to this. And nationally, these policies are also being pushed by President Obama, President Biden, Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, Senator Booker, and many congresspersons, including AOC. There's broad support for these policies to be able to make they understand we have to make these changes to make our city more affordable. Lastly, the number one thing that we can do to combat climate change, which is real and it's happening and getting worse, is that infill housing is the number one thing that cities can do to help combat that. When you have infill housing, people they're less likely to rely on cars, they walk more, they bike more, and they use less energy. We have to pass policies now. They won't solve the issue today, but we have to pass now to be able to save our future. Thank you, Mayor. I support the motion on the floor.
Okay, thank you. And I'm actually going to rule that motion out of order, and this is my fault. I started calling on commissioners for their thoughts before I asked the clerk to read the first item into the record, so let's go ahead and do that. I can turn back to Commissioner Sacco then to get the motion back on the floor. And I also wanted to make clear, well, I'll explain the second part next. Good, Madam Clerk.
D1 Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Land Use Change Ordinance number 211357, an ordinance of the City of Gainesville, Florida, amending the future land use element and map of the comprehensive plan by amending the single-family land use category and associated property as more specifically described in this ordinance, providing directions to the manager, providing a severability clause, a repealing clause, and an effective date.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to just clarify that the sunset provision is part of the second ordinance, not the first. And staff did ask if it was the commission's desire to include the letters of response to the three agencies as part of the transmittal when we do that. So go back to you, Commissioner Sacco.
Sorry about that. Would you want me to then read each ordinance?
No, just
the
the only
first
one we're
D1?
dealing with is
Okay.
D1, yeah. So.
Then I move we adopt ordinance number 211357 without, and attach staff's responses to the state.
Okay, and that's on second reading by title only.
On second reading.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Ariola was your second?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Ariola? Okay, I just didn't hear. I want to make sure. Okay, so back to commission, and I'll, Mr. Nee?
Just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, is the motion to approve ordinance 211357 and to authorize the mayor to sign the letters to the FDOT, the
DEO,
yeah,
and the county.
Alachua County, the GEO, all in regard to Gainesville Comprehensive Plan Amendment number 22-03 under expedited state review.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Ariola? Just could you speak audibly, so for the record? That was a yes. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to everyone here on the dais and in the community who has taken an opportunity to speak. I appreciate where everybody's coming from, pro and con. I hear you and I appreciate it. I've done all the reading that everybody else up here has. I've knocked on a lot of doors. over the last year and prior to that. And I hear the frustrations on every part. I think what this boils down to on a pro level is that it just the basic economics of the situation. We're hoping that by increasing supply, you meet demand and prices start to fix themselves. I think that's what the basic pro argument is. My con argument is that we have not, as a city, helped people understand what we're trying to do as a city, as an organization. And we talked about that years ago, about if we're going to roll out big things, we need to make sure everybody understands those big things before we move ahead with them. Because if we don't, it just doesn't work out in the long run. It just doesn't. And yet again, the city of Gainesville rolled out something that does not meet the needs of the people who live here right now. I've said many times that our job is to balance the needs of today and the needs of tomorrow. We're going all in on tomorrow, and we're missing a lot of today. Yes, there are lots of people in our community who need more affordable housing. This doesn't get that now. It absolutely doesn't. I've heard no convincing argument that this will lower prices quickly. It will not. What it has done is exclude our conversations about things that would, because we don't have so many resources to go around. We have spent an enormous amount of resources working on something that might help the market fix the problem. That might help the market fix the problem. I'm not a big market guy. Never have been. We now have on our staff a tremendous housing director. We have a city manager who has experience in affordable housing. We have opportunities to do a lot of things that will directly and relatively quickly address the issue of affordable housing, but we're not doing that. We've spent minimal time on that. We have committed $8 million to it. There's opportunity for us to make some real strides here, but we're not doing that. We're not talking about the power district. We're not talking about the Depot South Industrial District that isn't going to be industrial forever, one way or another. We're not talking about how we might position the city of Gainesville to be a part of Takachali when it is no longer in its current state. We're not talking about those things, and we are absolutely not listening to most of the community. If I thought this would fix the problem quickly, it would be really hard for me to say no. But it doesn't. And it does alienate more and more and more people in our community from their government. And the public trust is paramount. It has to be. We're not doing anything good to repair the public trust with this conversation. Now, a lot of folks have taken full advantage of that. A lot. And very few folks, very loudly, have jumped on a bandwagon that was already moving and proceeded to use it to crowbar the public trust further apart. That's not okay either. If we vote yes, if there's a 4-3 vote, as I think there probably will be, to move forward, it doesn't end. It isn't going to end there. We're facing legal challenges that may or may not be successful, but we're also going to, as a community, be in a place in a fairly short period of time where there are 5 and maybe 6 votes to take it in the other direction. We can stop it and move forward on the things that can actually benefit the community in the near term by not voting to move this forward. I absolutely appreciate where y'all are coming from. I get it. Again, I've done the same research you have. I've read those documents. I get it. Just don't think that that is where our community is, and I don't think it's what we should do, and I think that we will end up regretting it. Thank you.
Thank you. I first want to really sincerely thank, first, my colleagues who have been engaged in this conversation for a very long time, including the ones that sit to my right and left today, and the ones that came before. I have deep respect for you and am grateful for the manner in which you have approached this difficult discussion. I want to thank our staff who has put forth a Herculean effort over many years, as several speakers pointed out, for more than 4 years now, to try to work with our community and the elected officials to bring us some solutions to address our housing crisis. And they're always in a difficult spot because they're not the ones that make the decision, but they're the ones that often get the most abuse and the most blame. So I want to thank all of our staff. I most of all want to thank our community. I need you to hear from me that I love you all deeply, and I love our community deeply. You don't have to believe me. That's not important whether you believe me or not. I need to say it, and I need you to hear it. I was raised not in this community, I was raised by this community. I rode my bicycle to Westwood Middle School every day and Gainesville High School. I was taught about our segregated city by my friends that I went to school with. They took me to their neighborhood that looked nothing like my neighborhood, and it was an eye-opening experience for me, and one that I'm still learning. That journey is not complete. And just in any loving relationship, you don't always agree. And you always do not see the same issue from the same perspective. Anybody that's been married knows that. And those of you who are not yet married, you'll learn it. There has been nothing but a sincere effort from the genesis of these conversations, which go back to 2016. And I said at every forum and every door that I believe that every family should have the opportunity to choose wherever they wanted to live in Gainesville and should not be restricted to a certain place in town. And I worked my hardest for the 6 years I've been in office to try to make that happen. Now, what comes after, I don't know. As some of you wish or pray, if you're of that persuasion, that 4 people or one of these 4 will have a change of opinion, I hope that the commission that comes after sees our community from a new perspective. That this is a long-term repair of a huge damage that was done in 1958. Maybe they won't, but I hope. We have done this, and I use that we to include myself. This is a mea culpa. There has been so much apocryphal language behind this measure. And I think if any of us can take a breath and just remove ourselves for a moment, we know that that is not the case. It's not a panacea, as some of our speakers have said and I have said, but it's also, no neighborhoods have been destroyed in Minneapolis since this happened. It's changed, but no neighborhoods have fallen in disrepair. They won't here either. Our community is too strong to let that happen. I want us to be a welcoming community. I want us to be competitive in an increasingly competitive nation. I want the best and the brightest to come here, to stay here, to raise their families here. And I wanted to give them the opportunities to do that. I wish this had been easier. I wish I had the persuasive ability where there was fanfare and excitement on this day. And in that, I have failed. I have utterly failed. And that I do and will continue to regret. There's no question about that. But at the end of this very long and arduous process, I am more convinced than I have ever been that this is the right policy, it is the right thing to do for our community, and it will absolutely open up opportunity for people who right now do not have it. And so, with that, I am going to ask for the clerk to call for a roll call vote. I'm sorry, Commissioner Duncan Walker, I did not see your light. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could not rest. And even though I am reading the tea leaves and have a pretty good idea of where this was going, I just could not sit, excuse me, in silence simply because I think I can predict what the outcome is going to be. My family has been here since the beginnings of Gainesville. We did not come here by choice. We came down from South Carolina with the Hales to Hale Plantation. Not the Hale Plantation that many of us know today, where we live in $400,000, $500,000, $1 million homes. But the Hale Plantation where the enslaved worked the grounds. That's part of who my family was when we came to Gainesville. And when we had the opportunity, we came to Fifth Avenue during Reconstruction. And were able to build businesses, make a living. My grandfather and my grandmother literally lived behind the funeral home in a small house until they had the opportunity to build based on the American dream, their home, that they were redlined to in East Gainesville, but it was their home that they would build for their 3 girls. And it was based on my grandmother's vision. A pink house with a front yard and a backyard for the girls to play. A nice kitchen where she could prepare my grandfather's meals. But the goal was to create and establish something that would be passed down from generations to generations. And it was built on what she envisioned for her family. And that is what is not lost on me today. What is not lost on me is the fact that many desire and deserve the opportunity to have their existing neighborhood the way that they envisioned it, the way that they purchased it, the opportunity to pass down generational wealth, etc. I am saddened by the fact that we weren't more intentional about the way that we planned for Gainesville, because I believe that's what you do. You plan. And on the table in January, I believe, we have a place-based mechanism that I believe fully in the form of equitable development. that deals with the quality of life for all residents. I just wish before we made this grand sweeping change that we had had the opportunity, or we had taken the opportunity, to really take a look specifically, intentionally, and thoughtfully at our specific situations throughout the city before making a sweeping change throughout it all. So much has been said over the last, I don't know, this started way before I got here, but so much has been said over the last several weeks when we took this back up. But one of the things that has really stuck with me has been quality of life. Because everybody, whether you choose to live in a multi-family unit or whether you choose to live in a single family home, deserves a good quality of life. We deserve that. And I don't think that we have done the work to ensure that that happens. It's going to be very interesting when the new commission comes on. Frankly, I think we should have waited on them. I'll be here. At least that's my plan. I think this was one of those decisions that absolutely should have been left to the folks that are coming in, because we'll be the ones who deal with the fallout, whatever happens. So whatever the case may be, I could not just sit still and say nothing despite the way this may go. But I felt the need to say that quality of life, to me, is major and deserved by all in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Duncan Walker. It was very, very moving. Thank you. This is a very sad day for East Gainesville. And the reason it's so sad is because you all have opened the floodgates for gentrification. Our neighborhood has been destroyed in Porters. Next comes Spring Hill. Next comes Duval, and probably they'll try to get Hollywood if they can. This is very sad. And you say that you're doing it all for affordable housing for us? No, no, sir. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You're not. But the problem, the sad situation is the only place that there is available land to develop happens to be in East Gainesville. And now you want to take that from these hard-working black people who have worked all of their lives to get a house so that they can pass that on to their children. And you all have the audacity to sit here and take that from us. I will work day and night in January to get this reversed. That will be the first action. So when you're seated in January, that will be my first piece of legislation. And to the attorney, I hope you're not planning to take a Christmas vacation, because we're going to be writing this. But you know, all of this is going to be for naught, because when the legislature convenes, Gainesville will be used as the marker. They are going to finish taking away home rule. They're going to put in preemption, and we may be fighting it, but the legislature is going to put the icing on the cake. And all over the state, Gainesville will be blamed for taking away the last vestige of anything that you could look at as a tool. This is not a tool. The mistake this commission made before I got here, the mistake they made was not in listening to the people. You never ask the people, what do you want? You never ask the people in East Gainesville, what do you all want? How can we help you? That was never asked. And now, you see, the commission, so follow this, people, follow it. because now they're trying to do the same thing and rushing through inclusionary zoning. Get on the bandwagon, follow it, look, because we cannot have the same thing happen again. We cannot. But for black people in this community, this is a sad day.
It's a slap in the face.
Yes, it is a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face. You come to our community, you want us to vote for you, you march in our churches, then you come up and you do this to undermine the black community, and that is what is happening. So, Mr. Mayor, if you're ready to call for the vote, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner, appreciate it. Commissioner, no chairs or chairs. You can give her praise after the meeting, and if she would, I'm sure, to accept that. Madam Clerk, the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ariola.
Aye.
Commissioner Chestnut.
No.
Commissioner Sacco.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan Walker.
No.
Commissioner Ward. No. Commissioner Hayes Santos.
Aye.
And Mayor Poe.
All right, that motion passes 4-3 with Chestnut, Ward, and Duncan Walker in dissent. Please, let's remain civil. Mr. Holloway, I appreciate that. Madam Clerk, you read the next item into the record, please.
An ordinance, legislative rezoning and LDC amendment to single-family ordinance number 211358. An ordinance of the City of Gainesville, Florida, amending the Land Development Code and zoning map atlas to provide regulations for and rezone associated property from single-family zoning districts to a new neighborhood residential district is more specifically described in this ordinance, providing directions to the city manager, providing directions to the codifier, providing a severability clause, a repealing clause, and an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I move ordinance 211358, by second reading by title only, and the no sunset version with the staff changes to the effective date.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to adopt the proposed ordinance on second reading. Madam Clerk, roll call vote. Mr. Nee, go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just for the sake of clarity, I believe the version that was recommended by staff, the latest version, is labeled in the backup as the final second reading ordinance 211358. That's the one that has the slight change that was presented to you regarding the effective date. So it's labeled final second reading ordinance 211358. And then the other one is the same without sunset provision. That's not the one being moved, but just final second reading ordinance 211358.
That's the one without the sunset version.
That's the one without the sunset, but with the minor
effective date.
change that was presented.
Okay,
to you.
motion, maker of the motion, is that clear? Seconder, is that clear? Yes, okay. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sacco.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Santos.
Aye.
Commissioner Ward.
No.
Commissioner Ariola. Commissioner Chestnut.
No.
Commissioner Duncan Walker.
No.
And Mayor Poe.
All right, that motion passes 4-3 with Chestnut, Ward, and Duncan Walker in dissent. Next item, please.
LDC amendment regarding neighborhood scale multifamily dwellings, ordinance number 211359. An ordinance of the City of Gainesville, Florida, amending the Land Development Code to provide flexibility for the development and use of neighborhood scale multifamily dwellings, as more specifically described in this ordinance, providing directions to the codifier, providing a severability clause, a repealing clause, and an immediate effective date.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move ordinance number 211359 on second reading by title only.
Motion and a second to adopt proposed ordinance. Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Commissioner Ward.
No.
Commissioner Chestnut.
No.
Commissioner Sacco.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan Walker.
No.
Commissioner Ariola.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Santos.
Aye.
And Mayor Poe.
Aye, that motion passes 4-3 with Chestnut, Ward, and Duncan Walker in dissent. Is there any member comment at this time? Okay, then we are adjourned.